שזה הגיע ל5 שעות. המערכת ושם זה סוף הגיע לתוך הכבל, ומבין את זה טרף. דרך השנייה, דבר הרבה שזה טרף. אבל רבה שהיא נשתת בדיסקו, אם היית מצל מחר לתוך המסע, וגם מהמחר, ובזיק. אבל זה לא המסע, זה לא הגיע דרך, גם יש שונה, נסתם חתיכת מסע, אין לו רבה שהיא, מה? יש מחר לתוך מסע, זה לא טרף. אין לו רבה שבזינו, תלוי איפה הראש של המחר. תראו לכאן, הראש שלנו ששמים את החור הוא יותר רחב, אז יש קופות גם בקופות שזה בחוץ. לא, סליחה, הראש, כן, היא קופות בפעם, הראש בחוץ, זה בצד שמאל, והוא מנהל כדאי סוי, אז באמת, זה שוכב על מחד, החוד שלו בחוץ, אז זה בפנים, אז הוא מגיע מתוך הכבד, הוא טרף, הוא בגלל, זה כל דבר כדאי סוי. עין בפנים, זה בסדר, הוא בגלל, זה כל דבר כדאי סוי. אם זה הגיע, שיש איזה שתי דברים בכל עבור, אז זה דברים שאתה אין ראייה מאיפה זה הגיע. ואני יודע, הכי טוב זה, אבל נדע, לא יש פה נדע, אני כל הזמן משנה, עם העין, בחור, בפנית, וגם זה, אבל לא נגיד לעשות. זה הגיע, זה עשה מטר, וזה נפריד וכך כזה. מה יש לו מנחת, שזה כל מיני בייס הכוס. אז כל מיני בייס הכוס זה חשוב לכך. שבייס הכוסוס, תסכימו אלו, זה נראה. זה העלות מצד ימין, ובחוסות, משהו עדין, זה הדבר, זה בייס הכוסוס. זה לא... הוא בעצם מפרוף, זה כמו, נראה לי שזה הצורה בנכונה. הבייס הכוסוס, מה שאנחנו רואים, הוא פסק, זה... כן, אנחנו נותנים, זה בפנים, זה נראה כאילו שזה מבחור, זה לא נכון, הוא אותו תקלה, הבייס הכוסוס, יש לו שתי שכבות. ויש מחט בין שתי השכבות, לא, המחט לא נכנס בין שתי השכבות, רק באחד. יצא, איפה, שאלות, שתי סדות, זה דבר שני מילים כזה. למה שם, כאילו, איזה יקוד רצה, אם המחט הגיע מתוך הבייס הכוסוס, לכיוון החוץ, זאת אומרת, העין של המחט, של המחט, המחט לא הולך לכיוון אז זה בסדר, היא קובלגה, אם זה דבר שזה הגיע מבחוץ, שזה דבר מעניין, כי יש רק שכבה אחת של הבייס הכוסוס שחתות. אם זה הגיע מבחוץ, למה השכבה השנייה לא הגיעו מבחוץ? ורק השכבה הפנימית, יש לו פורמה, השכבה מבחוץ, אז זה חתות, לא יודע. בואו נעשה לך ימין למאיזה כיוון זה הגיע. זה הגיע מבחוץ. למה? כי זה עבר בשתי השכבות. בפנים, באמת זה רק חצה שכבה אחת, וזה נמצא. שכבה אחת זה לא מטריף את הבייס הכוסוס, זה לא מטריף את הבייס הכוסוס. אבל אני בואו אמרו לאוסף שלי לקח, בואו נראה משהו. אז זה לא, אפילו אפשר לראות אופטו, זה זה בספר, כן, לא, כמו שאני מספר, כן? אז מלא משקיעים בחיבור, זה ממש לא זה, יש משהו שתותף אותו, עם החוק, ובלי החוק, מה שאין אין שום דבר שתותף אותו. יש איזה שני הקו שעובר בגדר, ומצא שם הוא מעברי זה להביא לי טוב. הוא אמר שזה מגיע, זה הגיע דרך המשק. הגיע דרך המשק, דפסנו במים, להסתרץ. אבל מה שעולה לו, זה הגיע דרך הכלב. זה לא בדיוק מבין את המקסיס, את העובד, הם מנסים להסביר איך זה יכול להגיע לשם, ואיך זה יכול להגיע. טוב, אולי לא נראה מה, עוד סתם לא מבינה. שלוש מבינה לעשות דבר, אולי שגיל, השוק דרך שאומר שאם הוואי, היצריים שלו הולכים את זה לכלב, לכן אמרתי שהכלב זה ממש העולם יחיד את הדבר הזה לכלב, צריכים לקחת את הבגדים. אז הוא עושה משהו כאן. נכנס לחס וקצת הרבע. זה לב, הוא אומר שהבעיה המתוקרת. היא כשיסו, שזה בעצם הגרעין של החברה. השתגעת במונה. זה הגיע למעלה, יום שהגמרא תדבר על הגרעין של זית, שזה שומר את דבר, זה יותר חס. זה הגיע דרך הספות שלך, והחבר, ששם זה הגיע, המדעה, זה לא יכול לחזור אחורנית, והנה בנו בזאת מלאים. ועוד, כשאתם זזה, אז זה יכול להיכנס, זה לא יכול. ואני מדדיק לו, זה איסו, איזה בוזה, זה יכול, להיכנס למראה. אבל לא יכול, זו נשמור ביום. באמת, לא צוחק. למה קראו את זה ביום? כשמגיעו את זה עיניים, אם אתה אוכל מהמידה, לא בסדר. אוי לו, להגיד לו, אוי, אני ספות. האם אתה בנאה? שאתה את זה איכשהו ככה, או שאתה מוסכים דברים, ושם אדוני, זה נותן לך. או לשים בואי לו, להכין לו איזה סבון, תשמע, זה מסוסה. אתה יכול לקנות לבעל שלם מכמה בסוס אחד. אין לדור ברחוב. אתה רוצה לקנות, רק דייר, זה עולה 4. אבל זה צריך להיות, אתה עולה סוס, אז אתה דייר עולה 4. זה בדרך. אתה אוכל את זה איכשהו, לקנות בסוס לא. אבל, תוציא את המוחל, תחסוך 3, למה אתה קורא את זה ב4? לא, אין לי ספר, הסיבה שזה לא נתש כסף, ומשקיע את זה כל מיני סבבים, עם כל מיני תרבובים, ואז זה עולה 4. או בן אדם כמו מסוגיה חדשה, נק קורא לו, אם היה דקל בתוך המילה, איכו, זה ממש משמעות, זה לא דקל. איפה שהכפר, השוי מוציא את המאות, אז איפה שהייתי. די בשביל למצוא, תקטי במקום שאתה מסתכל בקורא, אולי את האצבע שלו עשה שלו סידה שלו. למה יש כאן את הדבר הזה כאן? אתם שואלים למה זה כאן? כי אני דקקתי שם. יש היום משהו שקוראים לזה מין כמו משהו שבאפליקציה דוד דיבר על זה, שנותנים את השתלוזים, נותנים את זה ככה, חורים אותו עדיין, עושים נגדים, ואחר כך יש מושלים, יכול להיות תקבילים את זה עדיין כזה, ואז זה עולה, אבל לא רק זה ילד לדבר, זה לא יודעת תמיד, האם אפשר לתת את זה כאצבע של השום, בגדל ותריש, זה שמתי משהו בציפורת של מצא שלו איזה סים ממש. ובעד אבל זה לא אמר תמיד, כן, אפשר להגיד שזה בגלל השקל. עכשיו כאילו רגע רבוי אמר, לא יתעלי לו. זה לא יתעלי לו. כן, הוא אמר, מגיע, לא, זה לא כל כך שני, הפקה, זה תעלי לו. אפשר. בדיוק שמה. השקל דוד, אז כן, אז הוא מסתכל ששמה באמת יש בעיה בגלל השקל וגם בגלל שבגלל בעיה כמה השקל ברגל הקרוב זה מעניין, לשמור רגל הקרוב ולראות הראשון של הרחון הצפות הראשון, מי הלכה כדי שקלת נדק חומה ולאפרון היה האחרון של העבודות. מה יש לנו? היה המוידון של רבא. האבא שלי היה בטובי מאוד של רבא. הוא היה אמיתי. זאת אומרת, זה לא שצריך, כן? כי המוידון יושב שם והיה הכי קהל עם אלפי אנשים. ואין לו קול חזק, זאת לקוחות, אז יש לו צורי כזה מקול, הוא לא יתצורי מקול. הוא אמר, אני הייתי שם, ורק פה אמר, תביא לו, שאפשר להגיד שהשופט עשה שם הכל. אמרו, אני לא עוד לא כל דבר אמרו, ולא גדוע, לא כאן. אמרו שזה דבר וידאו. שוב הרצות הוא שלוש. לא, לא טוב. אמרו שהשיקה נושא, תעבור לעם הסתה שלי. סתבר כמו, לא, תגיד בזה. מי שלא זוכר את הסיפור, הנה, לחדשים, אז זה התחביל התולד הזה, הוא מאוד מאוד מרגיש בתוך הבנות של התחנה, היא בעצם לצאת, היא לא סחורים, אומרת שהתחנה חיה לא לפני, זה החיים שלה. ברגע שהבהמה מתה, היא מרגישה שצריכה לצאת. היא רוצה עושה חור, צריכה לברוח, עכשיו צריכה עוד בהמה חיה. זה לא טוב להחלט את זה. זה תורה כמובן שחיה בתוך חי, בתוך זה. ברגע שזה באמת, יש שם חור, בוא נחשוש, בוא נגיד שהתולד הזה יצא החוצה, אחרי שהבהמה מתה, לא לפני. אז אחד אומר, בוא נשפיל את בוא נפגיל, ואני אומר, נשפיל את הראש, הביס של הבימה, לכן אפשר להגיד. ואנשים מדברים בין הסבירות. עוד פעם, סוגיה קצרה, עוד סוגיה. ואני שכתוב שמשה מדבר שאם יש נגד בריאה, זה רק אם זה להביס סימפונוס. בתוך הסימפונוס, אז סימפונוס שוב, יש סימפונוס פה, זה כאילו נגד, לא בסימפונוס. אבל הוא לא יכול לספר. זה סימוי גאון. הספר סימוי גאון. לא זה גם בניסה בורכת גאון. לא זה נגיד מה שזה לייבי. לייבי מה לא שמע? אפילו לא תאפשר לזה לכל דעת. זה לא נראה לי שזה הדבר. הלוך תקשיב. מה לא שמע? שאנחנו רוצים שהנק הזה בסימפון. אבל אני לא קראנו שאתה מדבר על המלוך הערבי. אני לא מתרשים על כל הוא מראה לרבים הוא בקונס הוא מסביר הוא אומר, אז הוא רוצה אותו הוא ערבי הוא נגיד הוא אומר, הוא לא שומע כי הערבי אומר כי יותר זכר הערבי זה אומר, הוא אומר, הוא אומר, ציצור, משהו כזה הם שמעו לו אבל הוא אומר לכן הוא אומר, מה לך לעבור? מה ששומע, מה לך לעבור? שזאת נראה רק נראים בדיון של קורא או נראה לי, אני לא חושב לא שאנחנו לא נקשיב תביא משל זה סוף משלה אבל היום אני רבי צחו בעם שולטים לא מכירים אני יש לי בסורת שלום פירושים שהנקד מתוך הסימפוניה הנה לא מכירים הלא מודות פירושים רש"י כאן אומר שזה רש"י לשיר לכל הש"ס אומר עוד שכל ככל זה שיר עצמו זאת אומרת בזה של התלמוד, בחסימת התלמוד, חקירת התלמוד, שזה הרש"י, החיים של הרש"י, עוד שם הפסוק אומר, מצאו העלות הזה, הפסוק הוא סתם בגבור, רש"י אומר כאן, סגור למילים אחרות, סתם בגבור, שרש"י אומר שאם יש הלכה, כמו שהיינו בקודם, ולצו, הרלות במיוחד בסוף, אני משהו אומרת, שזה שמונה תשובות בין שזה נראה שמונה מעש. יש לזה תלינו, עוד סייק. אז מה שאומר, זה לא מובן, אבל כאילו אמר שהעלות תלינו, בסדר, אבל אם זה הולך לזה, מי ידע לו? זה חסים זה דם. אז גם כאן, אין אבל תרשו, זה היה לא, חסים זה דם, סימות הדם הזה. אם יש נגד בחירה, רוב הרביעית צריכה לתת שהיה שם גם הקיבו, אז בואו נראה לכם סיפור קצת. לכנס יש, אנחנו נשאר שזה יותר מוכר יש 4 חלקים לכנס, כן? צריכים את 4 חלקים. האוכל גול נכנס לאיפה? לכנס. זה משהו גדול. משם זה עובר בית הקוליסוס. אחר כך האמסס, ובסוף לחיבה. עכשיו יש שומנים שם, עכשיו אני רוצה שתראו את השומנים. יש חצי קשר וחצי דבר. שמידן מופיע, כן? זה עצמי. זה לא בסוף עכשיו ראינו. בסוף ראינו מה התחילה מעלה ג'רס. כלומר זה חדר קורייסי. אנחנו מדברים על החדר של החיבה. מצד שמאל, זה היה מצד שמאל, זה האחרון. אולי יש לנו תמונה עכשיו, בוא נראה. זה בעצם מצד שמאל למעלה, כן? לא. מצד שמאל למעלה. זה לא בסרטון. בואו נקטוב דבר מזה, שיותר של הטבע. זה גם הטבע, זה היה מאוד גדול. כי הוא נשמע. אם זה הרגיש את הפלספות, ואיפה בגלל היתר ולא נשמע. שואל משהו הבנצה. זאת אומרת, כבר רק תגיד לנו, שמשמעות עצמות לא סובל ככה, בסדר, אני לא תפתח זה גם, שתגידו את הגמרא אחת, זה לא משמעות עצמות. אבל זה לא ככה. אני עצמות לא. עכשיו הגמרא אומר, טוב, סיבוב. שמות קהל וזה כאן. שמות עצמות, וזה נכון. עוד פעם הגעת אותו. סניה, כל ישראל, כל ישראל. אני לא מציבה את הכהנים, לדבר את כל ישראל. ומשמור עוד לא למד, לדרוך לישראל מפיגויה. זה כתוב מפורש לחברה שהכהנים מברכים את כלל ישראל. ועל העצמאות לא למד. אבל מאיפה הכהנים לעצמות מדברים ברכה? כשהוא רואה אני אבל שזה הסרטון שכתוב אחר כך. ושמו שמי על בני ישראל. אני אעזור את זה. אז בואו נשחק את המספיה, זה בסובר, הכהנים על בני ישראל, ואני אברכם, אני אברך אותי. פשוט פשוט. ושמו שמי על בני ישראל, ואני אברכם, אני אמשיך את הברכה על ישראל. טוב, בואי זה, אני אומר גויין מבוא בני ישראל, אני אשבור את מבוא מגיע. אז עובר למשנה שלכם על בני ישראל, ואני אברכם, אני אברך אתכם את הכהנים. אז יש פה ברכה על הכהנים. כי בואי נראה למדנו פה בני ישראל כפי הכהנים. יש לנו הלכה שלמדנו שהכהנים צריכים להיות בפיגור לא למדנו, אבל שהוא רואה במעגל מלכם, הולך שהתשבור שלהם מברך לכלל ישראל. כמו שכמה הוא במשלח רק של הפסוק. זאת אומרת, שזה כהנים רוצה. ורואה את הכהנים לבוא בישראל, או הוא מצא, לא כהן אני יכול לעשות. אין לנו הגיעו בו להגיע למלך. אז איפה מבעלה ביצות? יש העבוד. העבוד בדור אחר. אני לא יכולה לעשות כאילו, זה לא קשור כהנים. אז מה יתדמים? יש משמעות, שיש שמחה מיוחדת הכהנים, לא עושה כל מי שמברך יהודים את הברכה הזאת, כל מי שמברך יהודי אחר, גם שלא קשור אבל זה הרי גם רבת פשוטה. אני ספרים, הוספתי זה לפני זה, אבל זה לא מסוים. כאילו, אני לא מסתכל על לא לשרוד, לשמור לדבר שהפרחה של הכהנים זה בסוף פסוק בתור, לא את הפסוק, אבל לא שם על יד הפסוק, שמזכירה על כזאת שגם נבוא בבנים, לא צריכים לדעת בדוניישנס. שלא לא רוצים לעבוד ספרים. איפה אנחנו רואים שחייבת של הכיבה מוזכר, ואיפה זה לא של עוד סמכות של צמור לפעילה והחלק של הכיבה. כל החלק, ואיזה כתוב בפסוק, צמור בפסוק, זה בא. אז צמור עושים דבר, זה כל החלק השורה. ואם זה השורה, יש לשורה סחילה אחר, ואיס כל החלק השורה לקבל, מה זה כל כך בדיוק? לא מתחילים אפשר גם ידע. ואיס כל החלק השורה לקבל, זה על הדעת. אבל מה הפסוק הזה אומר? זה אומר, זה הכי ששמים על המזבח. אם שמים את זה על המזבח, זה אומר שזה מותר או אסור לאכילה, אסור לאכילה. מה שזה לא נובע, אסור לאכילה. אז אם זה נפלא אסור לאכילה, אבל זה לא נפלא מותר לאכילה. אז לראות את זה חלק, גם ידעתי, רק זה אסור לאכילה, אבל החלק הגרש מותר לאכילה. לכן לצפון אומר שחלק של הכרב מותר לאכילה, תראו לצפון. רואים ומתחיל שם גם יעתיד. לא, זה החלק של הכיבה. לא החלק. מילי, איזה חלק של הכרב, ושאני לא יודע, אז מה חלק נכנס איזה חלק? שנקלע.
The man known to history as Joseph's.
זה בעצם ככה. זה פה. רק תגיד אבל זה מגיע, הוא בנקלם, זה מתקלם שזה, אז הוא בנקלם. ובילה, עוד דבר, שזה ככה, אז גם החלק של שירה, אסור. תשקיע בואי לו, מה החלק אבל נכנס לזה כלס? כל זו, שזה סגנה, הוא בנקלם. זה חתיכה כאן, זה סגנה, זה לא דבור. הכל בעצם שהוא בנקלם, זה מה שזה אסור. חלק של פינה, זה לא פלסה, זה לא פלסו, זה לא חלק כזה, זה לא חתיכה אחת, זה קורה כזה, וכן זה מותר. זה רק, מה אסור אם יש לך שלוש דברים? פלסו, הוא, בנקלם זה אסור. זה חלק מהפסוק. אם זה לא, אם זה מתפרד, אז מותר. שוב לא רוצה בלכות ולא, ככה פה. אז מה הבעיה? הבעיה זה כפי מה שאמרנו, אז כאן צריכים לעשות להם.
Yo, what the fuck is this shit? Yo, what the fuck is this shit?
יש לנו שני טווייס, אחד הוא אותה, הוא אותה. אנחנו כבר עכשיו שנשמות באמת אמר שזה אסור, חלק כירה אסור, שאולי הוא לא אסור סתם. מי אמר מה לעשות, אולי זה ככה. אז עוד דבר, אני אגיד לך למה. לאחר. של הבוא ומשמד רבי, אותם יעשו שהוא משמד רבי, כמה יסצרו לאחר. את הראשון, את הדבר הראשון זה טעות. אחת למה, זה משהו בצבאי, זה נאמר לך איזה אולי זה לאחר. שלא כאילו נתבונו, כיוון שזה נכנס כדי להתקרקים, הוא אחרי דבר ככה, שמתי לב כל ששמענית הוא לא יודע גם את הסבורת, למה זה ככה, למה לא בכיוון לא ככה, ולמה לא בשמאל לא ככה. באמת, זה יותר מסתכל שהפרק זה שלוש הסברות, זה אומר שזה. עוד נשאר את הגמור, אני רבי שמואל, שמגיני, מה שמי יציא את החלם, בוא נסתכל, רבי יחשיב חלם פעידה מותרת. זה הפך לו. אז רבי קימו עושה שמתאים את החלם לכהנים. אז זה היה צריך להיות כתוב שרבי קימו עושה ששם טוב לכהנים, לא רבי שמואל. כי רבי קימי. אבל אנחנו ביצור, שורש נבויסו. ולאי ושבים אליי. משהו עושה טוב לכהנים, כי הוא אמר לשרור מהבויסו. הוא עצמו באמת, לשרור מסתבר שחלק של כמעט אסור כמו שתפגע, אבל משהו לא מקודם, שזה הוא אומר זה של הבויסו. כן, שמענו. ככה בזה שהוא היה בעצמו היה טוב, וסימונו, קוראן, נסע את קוראן, הוא היה טוב. בוא נעשה את זה מאוד. חום עליו, חלק טוב סויסר, תדע לך כלל. חלק שהוא נאור, סופר. למה זה סופר? הוא לא זז מהמקום שלו. כתוב לו שם על אותו איבר, בוא נגיד, שם אמרנו שהחבר'ה יש עוד לסתות פה, יש שם חוב, אחת זה הנערים ויש שומן בין המים, כן? אז תשימו לב, השמון הזה עוד זז, הוא שם, הוא צמוד, אז יש עוד, הוא סותר אותו ולא זז.
You know that when you got fired from SNL, everybody, came in.
And you, I called you that night. It was the night I got fired. I was drunk and we told yeah, sure. And it was, you said some really, really nice things.
Well, I mean, I didn't believe all of those, but you know what I mean? I felt like, I'm sure, because that's how people right now, but I'm glad that, can I tell you something? Even if they never see you again, okay, even though this is it, I want to tell you I love you, and I'm really, I don't know how much it was I am, but I'm really proud of you. No, it doesn't mean that you came in.
What's the saying?
Which part?
So today, the reason I have this Band-Aid is because today in the parking lot at McDonald's, the guy I usually buy crack from got into a fight with me. He was like trying to get my glasses. He was like, "Give me your glasses like as a trade."
Yeah.
And I had already given him one of my shoes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and I was like, "That's not fair, dude. Like, I gave you one of my shoes. I'm gonna walk around with only one shoe all day. You can't have my glasses too. Just give me the crack that week."
Yeah.
And then also, you get a lot of ginger ale here.
Oh my god, yeah. Dude, I'm telling you, I told you basically the whole story about yesterday, how I got food poisoning, and then how, like, I saved the day, dude, okay, so I fucking, dude, you remember Tacos El Pollo?
Yeah, of course, yes.
So I had Tacos El Pollo 2 nights ago.
Which one? Like, which location?
Rosemead,
Colorado. Okay, I just want to know.
Yeah, the other one is
I want to know which one gave you.
I went to the good one.
Yeah.
And so, but here, let me finish my story. You're already 5 fucking steps ahead of me.
I just wanted to know, dude. I gotta know. Keep going, yeah.
I was watching the soccer game, and I wanted to DoorDash some food, so I DoorDashed some Tacos El Pollo. Got like a DoorDash discount for DoorDashing so much. Anyway, so it comes, and then it's a lot of food, so I fucking put some in the fridge. You know what I mean? For yesterday. And then I got a quesadilla in the fridge yesterday. I put it in the oven. And then as soon as I ate the quesadilla, I had like bubble guts. I was just like, whoa.
Yeah.
But I kind of like it sometimes. It's like, oh yeah, I'm going to shit nasty. You know? Oh, sorry. I forgot it's a podcast. But I got fucking food last night.
Yeah, it did sound kind of funny. Like you said that you got up and you were trying to go to the bathroom and you just sat down in the aisle.
Yeah.
A sad Gerdo.
Yeah.
People had to walk around you.
Yep. And it was a Jackass movie, so I was like, I was about to puke. And it was so embarrassing because I was dry heaving
Yeah.
in the theater where I was like, like that.
Yeah.
And I was about to puke in a Jackass movie, which is kind of fitting, but also puking in a movie theater, I feel like is very embarrassing.
For sure.
Yeah.
It's so embarrassing because you're an adult. You can't puke in public, but at movie theaters, like everyone around you is going to see it. Be like, what the hell? And it is funny that it's Jackass because it seems to fit. Like everybody in the Jackass thing is more. I think those people are more likely to have food poisoning or be doing a bit where they poop or throw up.
Yeah.
I could see that happen. If they saw you do that, they'd be like, "Oh man." It was probably just honestly think that you were drunk. Because I remember when I was younger, I would get drunk to go see Jackass movies.
Yeah.
I remember specifically sneaking in tall cans. Before I got into crack, I had 2 tall cans and I was drinking them while Steve was like getting punched in the nuts. Everyone's jumping off a building. Dude, he's fucking showing some of his ass.
That's dude.
I liked it back in the day.
Fucking movie sucked ass.
The new one, you're saying?
Yeah, dude. Adam raising it.
Oh, that's too far.
He voices a robot, and of course he's like Steve. You know.
Dude, it's funny, Adam Ray being in it, it's because in the Jackass, what happens is they do terrible things to themselves, right? So this the Jackass thing is like they watch his stand-up, like, oh, fuck, dude, no way, dude, you're gonna watch Adam Ray stand-up, dude? No, dude, we're too old for this shit.
It did look like I was drunk.
Yeah, I bet.
It looked like I was drunk because I was like, about to throw up.
Did anybody say anything or try and help you? Probably not.
No.
Yeah.
But like I was telling you, I walked down my aisle and then sat at a random seat, and I just like put my head down on the fucking little desk they have there.
Yeah.
And I was just sitting there for about like 5 minutes. And I went to the restroom, and I started, you know, the THX sound system? You know what I mean? She's like, but I did not puke at the movie theater.
Was anyone in the restroom with you?
Oh,
Did you, when you came out, were you kind of like, embarrassed?
no.
Okay, good.
I was on the phone texting, and I was like, whatever happens, dude, I don't want to go to the hospital. I don't want to show up Monday and be like, I went to the hospital. And that makes two.
We're both sick. You got ginger ale, I got a Band-Aid on my head. There is something funny about when you're an adult and you get that thing when you sat down and you kind of like needed to rest. You don't do that as an adult unless you absolutely have to. There's something funny about just kind of like, I'm sorry guys, and then you're just a child again. You're just fucking sitting on the floor, or like, I'm sorry, I have to. That's the thing where you stop people, you're like, I'm sorry, I have to sit down. I'm a faint. Oh, fuck.
Yeah.
Something funny about that.
My buddy that I was with, he was like, right when it started happening, I was like, dude, I'm like going through it. I didn't know what to tell him. I was like, oh my God, I feel terrible right now.
Yeah.
He's like, we could make you are. I was like, no, dude, I don't want to leave right now. Because I don't know how it makes sense to me, but couldn't feel anything. I literally couldn't feel my hands, my legs.
Jeez.
Like I couldn't like see. Like I was losing hearing in one of my ears.
Right. This is the fire ticket. Yeah. That's what happens to Brian every time he's about to record another episode. When he edits, that's what Chin calls editing. He gets in editing mode.
No way have we only done 5 minutes. Has this been 5 minutes? Wow, dude, that's crazy.
Time flies when you're having fun, man.
Wow.
Cheers to ginger ale. It's funny, ginger ale has a product that half or more of the people doing it are having a horrible day. How do you market that? It is delicious
It
stuff.
fucking tastes amazing, dude.
Yeah, it's really good.
I've literally down like 17. No, I have a pack of 10 or 12, and I've had like 6 of them at least.
I remember back in the day with ginger ale, when I was sick as a kid, we used to get like the 2 liter, and my mom would be like, "Do you want some more ginger ale?" And like pour me like a cup. Yeah, someone. And then saltines. Where are your saltines at?
I got them in the.
Oh, so you did get it? Okay, cool. That's good.
But why? I don't get the saltines.
I don't know medically, but I think it's probably just less likely to throw up, I guess.
Yeah, I'm just on water right now, Daddy.
Yeah.
I just want water and ginger. I'm not going to eat anything today.
That's probably a good idea. You don't want to. It's really a test. The ginger ale is a test of your stomach. That used to be funny too. When you're sick, And the test is like, all right, you have some water. You drink the water, you're like, I'm good. Then you throw up all the water. And then you wait a little bit longer. You have water, it's fine. Ginger ale. Like, oh, I'm good. I'm just going to drink the ginger ale. You throw up all the ginger ale. That's what I used to do. Like, I'd throw up everything. Every time I was like, I'm fine. And then I would throw it up. Remember that? Kind of like you throw up when you eat, when you're sick.
Yes. I remember that feeling. I mean, even throwing up last night was fucking nuts, dude. I projectile vomit, dude. Like whenever I throw it.
Well, you said last night, right? Not in general. You don't always projectile vomit.
No, last night.
Okay, good. So it made it sound like you're just like every time.
Remember that one time I peed in my fucking apartment? Do you remember this?
Your apartment.
I walked over to the.
Was that there?
No. I was sleepwalking. And then
yeah.
I walked into my kitchen and I peed in the corner of the kitchen.
Crazy.
Yeah. And then I'm pretty sure that was like around the same time that the last time I puked. Whatever that was.
And you didn't. Oh, okay. So it's been a while since you puked.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess same here. You puke less when you start watching the Fire the Kid.
It is crap at McDonald's.
With me,
Yeah, what did you got?
I got the Band-Aid. I know I haven't revealed why. So I told you over the
Hardcore look right there.
Yeah, it looks ridiculous.
You look like a new character in Dune.
It's funny. I came
Yo,
down. My wife's friend
look who
was
it is.
over, and I came downstairs and I had this on, and she's
What's good, big dog? Yo,
Hello.
how you living, pimp?
Good.
What's good, son?
Right now I am doing shorts for TikTok and YouTube.
Oh, that's good. How many podcasts did you do this week?
This week I did one.
Why one?
Because the yesterday, the guy we have some issues, some problems, so we don't do it. But like 7 hours, I have the UFC.
Oh, the Brazilian guy?
No. UFC.
The biggest UFC fighter in your country.
I don't have him.
Okay, who's UFC?
Some main guy from Singapore.
Oh, okay, that's cool. Are you excited to do it?
Yeah.
Excellent. I just did a podcast like an hour ago or so. And it was audio only, which is cool, but I'd rather do video. And but it's fine. And it was on Alien Disclosure. And you know how I am with the podcast. You can sit there and ask me questions, and that's cool. Or you can just let me go, and I will talk the whole time. And he was really, I think, a really good podcast host because he asked questions when he had them, but he recognized that he would just let me go. And I'm able to fill the time, I think, with intelligent facts and interesting content. And it was 2 hours. And then I've got another one for 3 hours in about 12 hours. And that one's really challenging, but I'm excited to do it. So that's good. And then I don't have any lined up for a while. And if you're like, why not? I think my email that I send out got flagged as spam. So I had to use a different email account. And so hopefully I get some more people, maybe not this week, but in the upcoming week or so. And that's okay. If you send out a bunch of emails, eventually somebody's going to think it's spam. So no big deal.
Yeah, that's true.
No big deal. All right, so you're making clips of your content.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay. Are you making YouTube shorts?
yeah.
Okay.
YouTube short and a TikTok short.
What about YouTube shorts?
I'm making YouTube and TikTok.
What about Instagram?
Instagram, I will do it too, but I don't know how can I don't want to be like
You don't know what?
and how can I don't survive this?
What do you mean? You're not being punished. How are you being punished?
I'm not in panic, but I don't know how can I be like how can I like survive like no sleep.
All right, well just go to sleep and then do it in the morning.
So officially I have a birthday because for me is the first of July.
That's right. Well, happy birthday, big dog. If it's your birthday where you are, I will wish you a happy birthday. The big 2-2.
Thank you.
All right, so what are you doing for your birthday?
I'm working right now. It's like 2 a.m. in the morning, and I'm gonna do episodes. And yeah, yes,
Are you gonna put, dude? Somebody reposted that interview we did, which was cool,
yes.
and I posted your interview all over Rumble, and it's on YouTube as well, and that's good. And
Yes.
when's our part 4 come out?
This week.
Oh, okay. Will you let me know when you do, and then I'll repost it everywhere?
Yeah,
Excellent.
I will. Don't
That's
worry.
that's tight. And are you? Have you gone and tried to get someone from Kick yet?
Not yet.
All right. Well, talk me through your strategy.
What?
Talk me through your strategy.
Like okay, I will gonna have. Or like I will gonna have new account this week. And
Excellent.
I'm going to like 5 or 10 seconds like listen to them and watching him or like maybe at hello something like that after I hit my approach.
That's right. Good job. You got what I wanted, which is just create a new account to do it. And then you just go through, go to not big streamers, maybe people that have 50 or fewer people watching them at once. And you say, hi, how are you? And they'll be like, I'm good. How are you, dude? And then you'll be like, I'm well. Would you like to be on my podcast? And they'll be like, sure, I'll be on a podcast. When is it? And you're like, oh, it could be right now if you want. And they're like, well, I'm streaming right now. And you're like, okay, well, if you join my Discord, I can do a stream with you, and you just show the stream on your side, and you show the Discord on your side, and then they'll record it, and then you've got the podcast right there. So you can tell them. I would tell them, do you want to be on a podcast? You don't have to stop streaming. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And then Kick saves for 30 days. So you can go back and edit and do whatever you need. But then you don't have to be like, hey, when are you free? None of that BS. You know how that is. If they're going to be streaming, you can tell them it can be as long as you want. You don't have to answer the questions that you don't want or whatever. I would also tell them it's very low pressure. I just want to ask you about your streaming journey. And if they say no, then you be like, all right, well, I appreciate it. Best wishes. If they say, well, not at this time, then you make a list of people who said, not at this time. If they say maybe, they might say, how big is your podcast? They might say, send me the information on the podcast and I'll take a look at it. You do all those things. And if they say yes, then you do it right away. So anytime that you get a guy or a girl who's like, yeah, let's do a podcast, and they have technical issues and they can't do it, no big deal. Just go to Kick and get somebody else. But you need to be producing one of these every single day. That's what your fan base wants. They're going to want, oh, I haven't heard Tony's podcast today. That's what I want to do. It's my daily regular thing that for which they look forward. Like if you're like, oh yeah, I'm going to put out a podcast every week or two or whatever, nobody's looking forward to that. But if you have it every day, then they're looking forward to it. So that's what you need to do, big dog. Yes, sir. All right, big dog. Well, happy birthday to you. You should get some sleep so that you don't sleep through your whole birthday.
I know, but I really have to do this because I'm like very bad in short.
Okay, big dog. Well, you do that. I'm going to watch my podcast, and if you need me, I'm here for you. Okay, big man?
Yeah, okay.
Thanks so.
She started laughing because she thought like I had like missed a part of hair on my head, that I was shaving my head or something like that. Like it looked so weird. Yeah. But no, so I texted you over the weekend. I woke up in the morning a few days ago with this like bump on the middle of my head, and I woke up from sleep, right? Yeah. So it was very random, like weird red line on my forehead, and I was looking in the mirror and I was like, what's that? Did I sleep on something? But I was sleeping on a pillow. So there's no explanation for it, right? I look at it, I touch it, it feels like like a weird burn or something like that. And immediately I was thinking about it, I was like, oh, this feels exactly the same as that time when I got shingles on my chest. We all remember when I got shingles, right? So I'm like, fuck, man, I got shingles again, dude? It hasn't even been like a year. What's going on with me? My immune system is crap. Am I stressed out? Yeah. This is a podcast for sick people. Just talking ginger ale, dude. We can crack open a rain, dude. This is the last show. This is the fucking party before the end. Our sponsor should be WebMD, and fucking Band-Aid and shit. I'm fucked up. So I was like, God damn it, dude. I bet I have shingles again. Because I am kind of stressed out. And so I go to Kaiser, right? And I'm like waiting at Kaiser. And while I'm waiting at Kaiser, I'm in the right area. This old ass black lady is sitting next to me on the phone, loud, talking to like her friend or whatever. And she goes, yeah, I think she might got the shingles. And I'm not even 59 yet, so I gotta get that shot. See, I don't want that guy. She got the shingles. And I'm thinking to myself, like, you want to talk? I mean, I have shingles probably. I can tell you what it's like. You should get the shot. Should I get the shot? Can I still get it? If I've already gotten shingles, can I still get another vaccine? I really want the shot. I've had it twice. Can the shot stop this? So I'm just listening to her. She's kind of funny. She leaves, and then I go into the doctor's office, And I don't want to tell them straight. Like, when I'm talking to the nurse, I don't want to be like, yeah, I think it's shingles. Like, I think I have shingles in my head. Because I don't really want to say that out loud. For whatever reason, I'm embarrassed. And so I'm just listening, and then I go to the doctor, and the doctor comes in, and I say, well, I had shingles before. It feels weird. It feels exactly the same. You know, kind of like you touch it, it feels like my head's on fire. And she's like, well, it's probably not shingles. And I go, okay. And she's like, because shingles doesn't go on the median line of the body, which to me sounds like a bunch of nonsense.
Median line?
Yeah, I was like, what does that mean, median line? What are you talking about? And she's like, it doesn't cross the median of your body. And I was like, I still don't really understand what
You
you're
just said
talking
the same
about.
thing twice.
Yeah, but apparently she's saying that the middle, like, this makes no sense medically. I mean, I'm not a doctor, obviously, but
You could be.
I could, yeah, I've been there enough. Maybe more than Kaiser, dude. At this point, I think Claude and me might be better at doctoring than Kaiser. So there's like the line in the middle down your body. I didn't look up why, but apparently shingles rarely crosses the middle. So I've got this line here, and there's like these little blisters too. They're kind of small. They almost look like pimples on the red part of it. I even asked Claudia, and they're like, it doesn't really look like shingles. But so I'm like telling her about it. She's like, but it could be, you know. I mean, the symptoms sound the same and all this. And I was like, all right. And then so we're kind of talking back and forth. It's almost like we're like deciding between the two of us what the best course of action is. Even though I have no degree, she's like a physician's assistant or whatever. So she's like, what we can do, I'm gonna swab it to get a sample to test it. They didn't test last time. Why are they testing this time? Like, I'm glad. Great that you're testing it. But why did you test last time? Did I never have shingles? So she's like, the funniest thing though is the swab. This is, I think, the funniest part.
It's just funny you're at the fucking doctor.
Again, yeah, I have a lot of problems. Look at you. All right, ginger ale, do your poop your pants in a movie theater.
I refuse to go to a fucking
You need a doctor. If anyone needs a doctor, it's you. You fall asleep at movie theaters, can't feel your feet.
I'm gonna die if I'm not going to the doctor.
And if they would sit you down and they'd be like, damn, have you been in a red chair lately? But that makes no sense. So, see, the swab thing is what cracks me up thinking about it, because she's like, I'm going to take a sample of it. Now, I am traumatized, I think. I'm used to people cutting stuff off my body at this point in my life. I'm like, all right, another person wants to cut something off my body to test it. Fine. Fucking, okay, cool story, bro. So, but all she's doing is swabbing it. But in my mind, she's cutting off a part of my head, right? So I'm ready for that. She takes a swab. I close my eyes because I don't want to see that. She starts swabbing, and it is so painful because of whatever this is. I think probably shingles. And so my face, I'm not screaming or anything, but my face is showing that I have pain. And in my head, I'm thinking, this feels like she's cutting off something. Oh yeah, she's definitely cutting stuff. But all she's doing is taking up and lightly and everyone else is really looks hilarious, and she's like, oh my god, so it really hurts, huh? I haven't said anything. I'm like, oh yeah, and then I realized all she did was swab it. I was like, oh yeah, it does, yeah. But yeah, so they tested it, and it came back not detected, which doesn't mean that it's not shingles. And I'm taking the pills because I don't want to give my wife shingles. I don't know what it is. It's so strange. It doesn't feel like pimples. It feels exactly the same as the last time. So I don't know what to do. I go, why do I keep getting this to the doctor? And she's like, are you stressed? I was like, oh yeah. And then she looked at my chart. She's like, this is kind of funny for you. She's like, you should go see your primary. You don't see your primary very often.
Oh my god. Oh my god, dude, they just want to
doctor.
You're their fucking cash cow, dude.
I do think I should get better insurance.
Yeah.
Sure. But yeah, that's a conversation for next year's.
Next time you want to go to the doctor, just buy some ginger ale, dude, and stay home. Drink some water, gingy. Fucking kick back, eat some salty crackers, you know?
Yeah. Why do you so like it's funny, you went to see Jackass, and I mean, you liked all the other ones, right? Before this new one? Or did you?
Yeah. But like, don't put that on the YouTube.
Oh, okay, sorry, I didn't mean that.
They just sided themselves with Adam Ray. Now it's like, Oh yeah, look at the guy that liked all the Jackass.
Gerardo's List of Secrets. Oh, that's right. Yeah. Well, I liked him when I was a kid. And we were talking last episode about how I don't know if you've done with the remakes, the constant sequels of things. Are you still? Is that what you think too?
I had food poisoning. I don't even think I had food poisoning. I think I just saw Adam Ray and Jackass.
That's what made you sick. That's your reaction to Adam Ray.
Yeah.
It's like Adam Ray syndrome. They start reporting it. Whatever, Johnny. You go to the doctor. I have these symptoms. And like, okay, have you? Are you any new medication? No. Have you anything changed about your diet? Have you seen Adam Ray lately? Like, who's Adam Ray? He's a comedian. He does a lot of characters and are very funny. Oh, yeah, I think I have. And they throw up in the dog. They need a vaccine for Adam Ray.
I like how you have fantasies of being a doctor.
It's what I was most normal in me. It's really all of my interactions are either work or the doctor. So I talk to my doctor, my wife, and my boss. There's 3 people in my life, and you. So I mean, imagine me.
How much of this is like your wife telling you to go to the doctor? 0, or is it all you?
No, a lot of it is her, but not this. This thing, I was like, it felt so exactly the same, right? Like, I can't describe shingles. It's so weird for me because a lot of times the way they say shingles is like it's super duper painful. It spreads all over your body. But the first time I got it, it was like nothing I'd ever felt before. It felt like a weird sort of like burn, tingle. If I touch it, it just felt strange. Like it didn't feel like a rash or a pimple or whatever. So I was like, what is this? I go there,
Dude, what's going on?
Exactly the same, but apparently the beat on it.
Last
Sounds
question before I
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
if I am doing TikTok videos, do I need that thumbs up or same thing I am doing for YouTube videos or no?
Time's up. What do you mean?
I like the picture.
I don't know what you mean. Can you be more specific?
I mean, like if I'm doing YouTube video, like your podcast is like the photo, the main photo from there. Like everybody can see that, like the first time.
Yeah.
Do I need to do it for TikTok?
Are you talking about the thumbnail?
Yes.
Okay, what about the thumbnail?
Do I need to do it for the TikTok videos?
It would be best to, yeah. Oh, hold on. I get what you're saying. Yeah, it would be best to. It doesn't take long. You can just take the one that you have and put it into ChatGPT and say, make this into a dimensions of TikTok, and it will do it for you.
Yeah, I need to change it because I didn't know what to do.
Okay, it's not hard. You just take literally the picture, put it into ChatGPT, and it will give you one that you download and then put it into TikTok.
Yeah.
The big thing with
I
TikTok
think
and YouTube Shorts and Instagram Reels is to make sure that you put a lot of hashtags on the subject. And always put the hashtag FYP, For You page.
I'm doing that. So when I wake up, I will gonna change it.
Okay.
I'm gonna make that up.
Okay, big dog.
Okay. One nice thing.
Yes, sir.
I don't have only on my Amazon. I have Patreon.
Yeah.
Also
Okay.
for my thing. So when you are famous, Patreon and Amazon Okay.
You got it, Big Dog.
Nice. So I'm going to change it to memory card, but I know I am going to study company for me and a day to have UFC.
Okie doke, Big Dog.
So, yeah, so and we will talk for you tomorrow.
Okie doke, God willing.
Okay. Good night and have a nice day.
You too, Big Dog.
Bye.
Yeah, I don't know, but I think anything a doctor says is horseshit.
I don't discount everything they say, but I'm just like, so median, what does that even mean? Because the bumps are like, there are 2 bumps in there, like here and here. That's not on the median line. Also, the red line is very small. It's like also like, yes, it goes over the median line, which is like, what does that even mean? But it's also on the sides. So what are we doing here?
For instance, yesterday I realized that I bought like I think 1 month of like Dodgers baseball, like so I could watch the game.
Yeah.
And then I realized yesterday they've been charging me every month like $30.
Oh, that's the worst, dude.
And so I called MLB TV. Like I canceled the subscription, whatever, and then I called MLB TV. And it's something fucking Indian lady like Jackpot or something like that. My name's Jackpot. Sure. Okay. Do you get it? She's an Indian lady.
Yeah, no, she's cool.
I just didn't know if you know me to do more of it. But she's like, I'm Jackpot, this and that. And she's like, how can I help you? And I was like, yeah, I want a refund if that's possible, you know?
Yeah.
Oh, I can definitely help you cancel your subscription. Why do you want to cancel your subscription? No, no. I already canceled it,
Yeah.
but I just want a refund.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? This is my doctor for the day, dude. I don't believe anything these fucking people say.
Sure.
And then I'm going with it, and then she goes, can I just ask why you're canceling? And I was like, I already answered the questionnaire online, so you can find all the answers there. And then she's like, oh, okay, this and that, whatever. And she's like, can I just ask why you're canceling? I'm like, yeah, I just don't use it, Jackpot. Like, can we just get this done with? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then she's like, okay, I've processed your request for refund, and we'll have it sent to your email. That's all they said. There's not like, you got refunded or anything. It's just like, process your request. It's fucking the English language. They're just throwing these fancy English words at me. And I don't believe anything these motherfuckers say. It's just like, they want my $30. I'm not going to get it back.
That is the worst thing that they're doing now. Because I've dealt with that too. The subscription services. It used to be when I worked at Hulu, because I worked the same kind of job that Jackpot did, that you could make a decision. You could say like, all right, you get refunded up to a certain amount, or if maybe you have to request it or something like that. But there was no, like, now I've noticed what they do. It doesn't matter whether they're going to refund you at all, or whether or not they're going to refund you, is they go, oh, yeah, so we processed the request.
Yeah.
And it's like, dude, why not just fucking keep it the way it was, where you say yes or no?
Yeah.
It's not an improvement in any way. That shit is annoying.
I don't know if you caught the analogy here, but yeah, I don't like going to the doctor because of that sort of thing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I mean, it's like kind of the same. You don't trust them when they talk.
Never trust them. They talk
Their specific language. That
Yeah.
There's like a script that they have to follow. Do you think that
I didn't
doctors
say have to follow, but it's just part of the beast. It's like, this is the whole nature of the beast. I'd rather just survive until I die.
I know. You said that you would rather just like not know you had a terrible disease, right? Yeah. What if it was very obvious that it was like a specific disease?
I mean, like huge dick syndrome or what? That's pretty obvious, dude. I haven't gone to the doctor for that yet.
I know. How big do you think your dick got after you got the vaccine?
I wonder how many hypotheticals it takes for you to go to the fucking doctor, dude.
Like, what do you mean?
Like, I heard what you said too, by the way, it's pretty funny. But the hypothetical machine that you create in your head, like, what if it's this? What if it's that? What if it's this?
That's a good question. I don't think I'm like, because there's a spectrum of that, right?
Yeah.
Like I put Woody Allen on the end of that, where he always thinks that he has something, right? Or like that's his personality. And then there's somebody, maybe Gerardo's here. I'm sorry to put you on the spectrum with Woody Allen.
Oh, yeah, dude.
So Woody Allen always thinks he's sick. Gerardo like doesn't care, doesn't even think about it. So like I'm somewhere more like in the middle here, maybe a little bit more towards Woody.
Oh, God, dude.
But only when it comes to hypochondria.
Doctors.
Hypochondria talk.
Yeah.
And so, am I always thinking I'm sick? Not really. I mean, I'll like, maybe a little bit though. I remember when I had, before I found out I had Graves, I kept thinking that my kidney was
Oh, my God.
so yeah, maybe a little bit closer.
I'm so anti-doctor. Like yesterday, my friend was telling me that I should go to the doctor. I'm not going to the doctor.
I don't think you need to go for food poisoning.
Yeah. I mean, it does make sense. Because I'm like over here going like, I can't feel my hands and my legs and my face.
Yeah, if that continues, for
And
sure.
then you should go to the doctor. I'm like, no, dude. I'd rather die. I'd rather die in the streets of Alhambra, dude.
I would only, food poisoning, I'm like, that's something I'll just get over if it lasts, sure. It's not a crazy thing to go to the doctor. I remember when you should, for something like that, I think I would only go to the doctor if I had taken some medication and I had something like that.
Yeah.
Because remember, I told you that story about when I split my finger open at the gym and I was infected for a long time.
Yeah.
And there was a one night where I took a new antibiotic that they given me, and I found out that I was allergic to Bactrim. That shit was crazy. Like I took it and I was all sweaty and cold and throwing up, and then I tried to get out of the bed and I fell. And so it was like, I'm obviously something wrong. I was just allergic to Bactrim. Whatever that is.
Same here.
Yeah, you took some Bactrim.
I took some Bactrim last night and I fucking had a crazy day.
Well, ginger ale kills most things.
So you been watching the World Cup?
Following it, yeah.
Oh, dude. I would quit my job if they wouldn't let me watch the World Cup.
I guess I could watch a World Cup while I'm working, but I don't know, too busy. It's the thing I did see was that I was sad to see Korea didn't make it.
Yeah. It's very funny. I've been following the Korea story.
What happened?
Their coach is terrible. So, like, Ming Bo or something like that. His name is Ming Bo.
That's the coach?
Yeah. And this fool, everyone in Korea hates him so much that when he's on the news now, they have his face blurred out. It's like they BGL'd him. I swear to God.
Whoa, no way. That's awesome. While you look it up, there is one line of the story that you probably know more about that I did hear about. I heard early on that he had benched their captain because he was like, no, we put him in like the second and he'll have like fresh legs or whatever. And people are going like, that's the stupidest thing that has ever been done. And then, so Korea, they started off, they beat, what's that country called? Like Czech. I think they beat Czech, right?
Yeah.
So they beat Czech, and then they lose to Mexico, and then they lose. I think they lose to the other team, right? Too.
Oh yes, they lose to South Africa.
So they're supposed to be really good, and Korea sports are. I mean, their sports are important in every country, but they're super duper important in Korea. And they're this team that has been really good in the past, so a lot was expected of them. So now this coach is going to be like publicly executed. Oh man, poor guy.
He's going to be publicly executed.
I'm kidding, but they're very angry with him. Even the president is talking about it.
Oh yes.
It's like fucking. I don't. If the only thing he did wrong was bench the captain, is that really that big a deal? Did he do other shit wrong?
He sucks ass. So it all starts from. 1 second, I'm probably gonna need to fix this real quick. It all starts from trying to get because he was the coach for 2014 or 2018 or something like that.
Okay.
And then he was the coach for and then they needed a coach for this year.
Yeah.
And they went through this long hiring process where they had like foreign coaches sending like packets and whatnot.
Yeah.
And then like in the middle of the night, while they had all these other foreigners that are actually club coaches, while they had them sending in packages, they like took this fool to dinner and was like, "Hey, we need you to coach the team." Like it's like some weird corruption in the Korea Federation.
Okay.
And so that's why people don't like him. It's like, we should have got a better coach, dude.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense. That was an interesting storyline, and then also Iran, I guess, is what got kind of fucked over.
Iran?
Yeah, like they're making
It's like, dude, it's like a woman that watches the World Cup. You're following like the storylines that don't matter about soccer.
Oh, okay, sorry, dude. School me on the cool stuff. Let me know what's going on, man. You masculine. What's the most masculine story in the World Cup?
Oh, I don't know about masculine, but I'm just thinking like, it's,
Yeah, you don't.
Uruguay beat or lost to Spain.
Yeah, I also saw Uruguay is out. They didn't make it to the next round.
Yeah,
That's kind of suck because they're really good at soccer. Aren't
I
they?
hate Argentina. I hate Uruguay. I love Messi, but I hate Argentina. I cannot stand Argentina.
All I know about, I mean, I don't know if this is another one of your feminine points, but online they say that like the Argentinian fans are super racist.
Yeah.
They keep seeing these cartoons that just seem like cartoonishly racist against black people. I'm like, damn, dude, what's going on in Argentina?
Argentina.
Yeah.
Let's see here. There's one I posted. Yeah, this one. It's so funny, dude. This is at this point, English speaking Twitter is a waste of time. Argentinians aren't racist. Messi crying because his ankle's going to turn black. He's crying.
Why is he crying there? Did he get hurt?
Yeah, but the joke is that it's because he's turning black.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's funny. But is he okay?
Yeah, no, this is a long time ago.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I was like, damn.
He injured himself playing Colombia.
No. Brutal.
Yeah.
So who are you going for now?
Mexico. All the whole time.
Oh, yeah.
I want them to win. ECC?
What's that?
ECC is like a Mexican saying. It's like, why can't we win here?
ECC? Okay. That sounds like a Shakira song. Kind of.
Yeah.
ECCC. Do they got any sayings or like songs in Mexico for the soccer?
You know about the Korean one?
Yeah, what's that one?
It goes, Coreano, hermano, ya eres mexicano. It's like, Korean brother, now you are Mexican.
I wonder if USA has anything. I haven't been following. I haven't seen any of the things. I saw like the end of the first game for USA.
USA just has John Denver, dude. Set the country road.
Oh, dude. I was watching while I was doing some wedding shit, some wedding prep. And I was watching on my phone, and I forget what games were on. I think it was the 2 games were on at the same time. And both games had on that stupid ass song by Bon Jovi. Oh, halfway there. Oh. So I don't like that song, but I'm doing this shit with my hands, like listening and watching the phone. And my wife is sitting next to me, and I'm like, oh, halfway there. Oh. Just like singing, and she's like, "What are you doing?" My doctor's playing Bon Jovi, so I'm playing Bon Jovi too.
Yeah, dude. Have you heard about
Holland?
Have you heard about Giannis Antetokounmpo going to the Heat?
Oh yeah. Is that a big deal?
I guess.
Are they good?
I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
I really don't care about basketball
Oh yeah, you're out.
right now because of the World Cup.
The only thing, I mean, the Bansa went to the Wizards. I'm happy about that, but I have nothing to say about the Bansa. Just Wizards are probably the best team in the NBA now. So it's
Yeah, we'll see. Well, you got Devanza and Trae Young. That's it.
probably be the best team in the NBA soon. Soon-ish.
Going from the fucking forehead band-aid, dude.
Yeah, I look like a basketball player now. They always have 4 band-aids and shit.
They're at the Wizards training camp. Who's their biggest fan? Like this guy named Beanbag that smokes fucking crack in McDonald's parking lot.
This a guy who smokes crack and has shingles. Actually, that fits. Somebody who smokes crack probably does have shingles. I did send you a clip of Crowdwork if you want to torture yourself.
Let's see here.
Oathman sent me this Crowdwork clip, and he was like, yo, check this out. I know Crowdwork gets hated on, but I think this guy's pretty good. So once you pull it up, I'll hold off. I want to hear what Gerardo has to say about it, because you, generally speaking, are not the biggest fan of Crowdwork. I know you like to bring people on stage. You like to say, like, hey, how you fucking with the stool? dating shows are your big thing.
Anyways, let's see here. I didn't know it was piss off Gerardo did.
How many ginger ales are you gonna need after?
What happened? What you got going on with your show? How did he do?
They won the championship.
Yep. He didn't do shit. He didn't do a motherfucking thing. He didn't even get in the game. He mad as a motherfucker. As soon as he said something about the game, like, bitch, he ain't even playing. How long y'all been together?
After the game,
Y'all talking about to get y'all.
7 o'clock.
So y'all just met? Do you understand what I'm asking you? What am I asking you? How long have y'all been together?
7 o'clock.
Since 7 o'clock. Okay.
Is open okay?
Yeah, I don't think it's funny at all.
Is open alright?
I asked him the same question.
Maybe it's because Morocco's gonna lose today. He's just
That is kind of lame that Morocco's playing the Netherlands, right?
yeah.
6 versus 7, 6-7. Oh my god! But also,
Are you okay, dude?
what the fuck? It's rubbing off on me, okay? But it's just FIFA. There's something weird going on. I think.
Yeah.
Like, why would you have them play? Why would you do the thing to Iran? Some of the offside stuff seems strange. There's a little bit of like FIFA is usually crap, maybe they're crap. But anyways, back to the clip. This is
Our first date.
This is y'all first date. So where you meet at, boss? Talk to me, sir. Let me tell you something. Right now, you're trying to be easy. You're trying to take your time. You don't want to say the wrong thing because you're trying to get some pussy. I'm going to help you. If you just fucking trust me. You can't hear me.
Do you think he's gonna? Do you think he's gonna bring him on stage? 100%, right? You knew from like the beginning of the clip, it's like, oh, he's gonna bring him. We should start watching crowd clips and guess whether the person comes on stage or not.
Is this open in blackface? Why is he making us watch this?
I don't know why he thinks it's funny. I think crowd work can definitely be funny. I enjoy some crowd work, but my problem with some crowd work like this is that it's just what is said could be said any interaction.
Yeah.
Because he's like, man, he didn't play at all. There's nothing to suggest that anyone is mad about that. The guy doesn't even know the woman. He ate shit. He didn't even play. And then the second thing where it's like he doesn't hear what the person's saying. He's like, do you understand what I'm saying? Like, he just doesn't hear. You can say that every time. I'm going to start doing crowd work where I'm like, I want to start doing Sam just to do this. I'm going to go and be like, hey, where are you from? And then whatever they say, oh, did you not hear me? Did you not hear what I said? This guy, fucking Kansas. It's the same formula over and over again.
Let's see.
He didn't hear it now.
Sorry?
He didn't hear him.
Oh.
Oh, motherfucker. Kenneth, what you doing after this? It's undetermined. Kenneth, come up on the stage with me.
Of course, dude. Can come up on the stage with me?
Brandon, do you have shingles?
Of course.
Brandon, come up on the stage. I have a band-aid on my head. Doctor today. Of course. Come up on the stage with me, Brandon. My sister's here.
Your sister here?
With my brothers.
With your brothers?
Well, yeah.
Kenneth, you worried about the wrong shit. You not trying to fuck your sister and your brother now. Yo, man, you need to be on that right there. You got a babysitter? Yeah, babysitter with the baby with the dad. Let me tell you something. Do you know how nasty them motherfuckers get when them babies go with their daddy?
So he did the microphone bump too.
I'm going to go to Oath. I'm going to take a flight over to Oathman and then show up and be like, you know how nasty them babies get with their daddy? And then like, Kenneth Oldman.
You know how worried them motherfuckers get at Kaiser? Kenneth. You know about the median line with shingles? You worried about the wrong thing, Kenneth. You should be worried about your taxes, Kenneth. It's funny because this is somebody's mom. I would hate to go to a comedy show these days and you have to deal with a heckler. It's like, man, your mom is a whore. She fucking that guy.
Your mama having sex with all the men.
Your mama a whore. And then everyone in the crowd's like, fucking, mom is your mom's a slut, man.
Hey, can we give a fuck about your brothers and sisters?
I want to do that. I need a microphone at my job that I can just hit it whenever I do something I want or I'm enjoying myself. You better send out that email before I get angry. So,
You don't even know what you got on your hands right now, Kenneth. She ready to let that shit out. I want that for you, Kenneth. I want you to look at her right in her eyes right now, Kenneth, and I want you to tell her I want some of that pussy tonight.
he's doing a kind of preacher thing. You know, I remember when
I was hoping you wouldn't fucking interrupt anymore, so I would just finish this.
because this guy's torturing you.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Look, this is part of getting better.
It is a preacher.
Listen, ginger ale, saltines, projectile vomit, also crabber clips. That's how I treat my
Mojo Brooks, dude.
Mojo Brooks. Dude, you're sick? Have you drank ginger ale? I brought you some ginger ale, and also here's some Mojo Brooks clips. That's what women bring to us when we're sick. She's got the microphone. Check out this one. You wouldn't believe it. They're sitting at the same table, but they're not fucking. You know, bring them kids get this game, they daddy. Okay, Chris Rock, right? Great stand-up, very good, right? He walks on the stage. Brennan Schaub, we always talk about he doesn't walk enough. Chris Rock has said that some of his act comes from his father, I think, right? Who's a preacher and watching him, something like that. And there's a little bit of that here, and I like that stuff. It's very likable. It's a good. You see a lot of it, and it's like charismatic and interesting. And I can see this guy being funny, but here I don't like it because I just think it's lame.
Yeah, he sucks ass.
Yeah.
I'm sure he's a great guy who sucks ass.
Get your motherfucking act together. Look at me. Get your motherfucking act together. I want some of that pussy tonight.
He's having. So he gave the microphone to Kenneth to say to the woman, "I want some of that pussy tonight." Damn, did you see that coming?
No, he literally just said that he told him he wanted to do that.
I know, but did you see that? Like, could you have predicted that?
I don't think I could have predicted this.
I think they did. I did not see that coming. I watched it before.
That pussy tonight.
Oh, I thought he was going to get on the mic.
Do you hear how we talk, man? I want some of that pussy tonight.
That would have been good.
The white voice is always funny.
That would have been good.
Y'all been a good motherfucking time.
Joe Brooks.
At the end of the day,
Yeah.
at least those people are having a good time and there's some harmony in the crowd. Everyone's rooting for Kenneth.
Yeah.
It's not the worst.
Yeah, at the end of the day, I'll just kill myself and, not even worry about it.
I like the harmony of it.
Let's see what we got here. Mojo Brooks is killing it, dude.
He's big. I saw him get into an argument with another comedian about crowd work, honestly. So I was surprised. Oathman sent me this clip and I was like, oh, that's the same guy from the crowd work argument. And I thought it might be good. But when I played it, I didn't really enjoy it.
It's just not comedy.
For whatever reason, I don't think it's funny.
I'm gonna take two of them all the way in the back. I see that hand waving all back there. The white hand, I see it.
I wonder if the forefathers knew about the crowd work was coming.
Like George Washington. Okay.
They should have prepared for this.
Oh, right. So in the Constitution or something?
Yeah. We're living in 2026 with rules from fucking 1776.
Go ahead, baby. What kind you talk about?
This is the rest of the show now. We're just gonna watch
I'm down.
Mojo Brooks.
Yeah. I want to see what kind they might wear. Well, they're two different kinds of women.
We're guys. My nigga, check your bitch, let me. She asked me a question, man. She raised her hand. You want me to spare you? Man, shut your dumb ass up.
I like the man shut your dumb ass up. I do like that. If I was at the club,
Yeah.
I would laugh at that.
How often does the doctor tell you that?
Shut your dumb ass up, Cody. I'm like, I think I have shingles again. It's the third or fourth time this year. And the doctor's like, man, shut your dumb ass up. I'm going to give everyone a microphone. Like, when you make a good point, remember to slam this against your knee.
Show stupid ass out of here. Watch this, watch this, watch this. What's special about him?
It's like, there's no real stand-up here or anything like that. But it's like, it's something funny that happened in the show,
All
honestly.
right, this is a good clip. Meanwhile, you have a band up before it.
Where they suck the brain. This is just something funny that happened in the show.
The lobotomy that you went to the doctor for something different. They gave you a lobotomy.
It's not that he did particularly well, but it's like when someone acts crazy at a show and you tell them shut up and they're stupid, it's kind of funny.
Okay.
But it's not great.
Have you ever seen that movie Tusk?
Yeah.
I watched it recently. 2 days ago.
Yeah.
I should have got food poisoning for that one.
Tusk was bad, and I was also made me feel weird.
Yeah.
Like I was like, oh, gross. The people who made this were weird.
Yeah.
Kevin Smith, something wrong with him.
Kevin Smith, he used to be famous. He's like, this guy's a menace. It's like, you know, when the Mojo Brooks show comes into town.
Just so you can hear the laughter.
It's like towns away, you see like a shadow covering like buildings. And so you go,
Take the Bluetooth out so you can hear me real good. I asked that nigga, I said, what's special about him? That nigga said, first of all, she's white. It's not a black or it's not a white thing. It's cool that you get what you get and you love what you love. But that ain't first why she's special. We understand. You proud of her. She took you in.
I would love this so much if this happened to you.
oh, fuck no, I'm not gonna be, I'll never talk to a comedian on stage, dude.
If you're the guy and you like some sort of thing forced you to like have to play along, that would be so goddamn funny. You're standing there like, oh man, like him, you have to stand up. God, that'd be funny.
She took you in when you felt like your back was against the wall. I understand that. But what you're not gonna do, you're not gonna act like because she's white is why she's special.
What the fuck is this, dude?
Why don't you sit down and listen, okay?
Let me tell y'all something. When I drop that clip, black women gonna go crazy.
fucking like Tracy Morgan type, not Tracy McGrady type logo there.
This is like,
That's a new thing.
That'd be funny if one of these crowd work comedians turns into Darth Vader. Like he gets in the back crash, like Kevin Hart, and then like resuscitate him.
Did Darth Vader have a logo? He needed branding. Yeah, Vader, he should have got that. Darth Vader clips. Darth Vader's like, he strangles some guy. Vader, and then it says like Vader. When I dropped this, I can't even remember how to drink. I dropped this clip. Fire woman will go crazy. You have to be careful with that ginger ale. You can't drink it that fast. Why? Yeah, fuck that. Just
Really? No, I just put it. Zin makes me hiccup.
oh yeah, Zen, always good.
First Zin of the day. Child, I didn't have any Zin when I was fucking puking last night.
Oh yeah. Do you have to have a Zen a day or you get like a headache or something?
Yeah, I gotta have a couple of Zins every day.
Advertisement for Zen.
What's it called? My mom on the phone was like, "Did you have any Zins today? Because like, if you don't have them, you'll be sick." I'm like, "Yes, I had Zins all day today."
Wow. So she made sure that you had a Zen.
You're right.
Does she do Zens?
And then she went, No. I'm the only degenerate in my family.
No, I mean, isn't it supposedly healthier than chewing or something or smoking?
Not while I hiccup.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
I like hiccups though because I like the I don't know when it's gonna happen type thing. Imagine that puke again.
That would be kind of funny.
Well, let's see if we have any voicemails because I'm ready to go to the restroom.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah, I'm still like leaking out both ends right now.
That's fucking good. We're praying for you on the show.
I'm going to the doctor. All right, let's see what we got here. I think it's a solid.
Rats think they're pretty strong. I will prove all of them wrong.
Dude, somebody should do a video of us like before and after. Like before is like one of our best parody songs, and then after is a video of that. Before is like us all happy, and then after is you with the band-aid and me.
I was laughing because I was thinking about Petrovsky, dude. He like had a turkey noise and then, and I was thinking it'd be funny if he was making this with you in the studio, and he's like, dun, dun, like, dun, and then you're doing your hiccup noise, like, we got it. Yeah, one take.
Let's see here. I think it's Petrovsky. Is it 7 minutes? I like this. We did this one before. What? We did this one.
Oh, really?
Yeah. He thought he could show us up with that. We did it the wrong way.
I don't even remember, dude.
Yeah, I remember because it's hard on guitar.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you're fucking, you go ahead and play guitar, guy.
Yes, I did.
Yeah, impressed.
I picked the guitar up last night.
Well, I hope you get better.
Oh, dude, I feel like shit. Not gonna lie, the last 10 minutes, I feel like garbage.
I mean, yeah, it takes a while to get over, food poisoning or whatever you had.
My body was going through it yesterday, dude. I was sweating profusely. Oh, you want to see a picture of me sweating?
Have you sweat? Oh, is it like crazy or something?
I mean, I just sent it because, I joke a lot, so sometimes I have to be like, I'm not joking. I really almost passed out with you.
Yeah.
So I sent this picture.
I'm sure you have a picture of yourself sitting in the theater. Oh, God.
I was sweating, dog.
Yeah.
Bad.
Yeah.
That's the theater bathroom right there. Well, I'm not smiling at all. I usually always smile.
I think it honestly is a good picture.
That's like I should share that.
Yeah, I think that's a good, it doesn't really look like you, though.
Yeah. I'm sweating, though, dude. It looks like I just finished doing like an April shoot.
Like an April shoot?
Oh, like a calendar shoot. I just said April. I don't know. That's my favorite month. April's great.
So random. It's like, now I really do think you're sick.
Yeah, dude, I'm fucking. My stomach has been gingering all this whole time, dude.
I think we gotta go.
Yeah, the ginger ale's in my stomach, and I'm just like breaking down doors, going,
We're gonna poop soon.
yeah,
You wanna poop?
you're good. Let's go. Come on. Single file. Reheated quesadilla. It's hard to figure out what the fuck it was that I ate so much yesterday. I had a reheated quesadilla. Don't mind. I had a reheated quesadilla, a pretzel at the movie theater with cheese, and some fucking chocolate-covered raisins, dude.
I'm laughing because I'm thinking about, like, you have this food poisoning. What if you had an anaconda show and someone did crowd work on you?
I'm just dying in the front row.
Gerardo, can you hear me right now? And you're like,
Why are you so sweaty, bruh?
food poisoning. Food what? Gerardo, get up on stage.
Get up on it.
Get up on it.
Alrighty, well, we love you guys. Check out our Patreon. We're doing an episode of Sandbagger soon. Get early access to Timos.
These facts.
Oh, yes.
See you next week.
This side pen.
זה הכל בלגן שם, זה נשמע קיטור, זה הכל... אין שם דברים שאתה יכול לראות שם. הכל תנאים. עשינו צוד קוניון, פותחים איזה קערה של חרס, אבל יש לו גבלי, צמורים וגבלי, ציבור כזה גבלי. הנה יש לנו אפילו תמונה, מה הבעיה? אתה לא צריך לדעת מה זה, הנה. שוקרים את זה כלי, ואם רואים בפנים חוטים כאלה, אז זה סיפור זכר. וחוטים, אז זה היה סיפורות על השלום. שומעים לגבי גיסבר או שריות, רואים שם כאלה חוטים, גרמים, אז כלב, זה הסיפורות, ולא, שמינו, והפוליסאי, שדבר, או לדעי. שמעמדה, המון נכנס לתוך החוט השבר, שם יש את כל מערכת העצבים של הגוף, וראינו שאם פוגעים בחוט השדרה, יש צורה, רוב חוט השדרה, זה גורם לבהמה שתהיה תקיפה. עכשיו, החוט הזה הולך מהראש עד סוף הזנב. אם חותכים לו לזנב, לא קרה כלום. רוב הרבים היו שבוע עד בין, אבל שהוא שמים
They say this place is west of Lost and north of nowhere. But long ago, more than 40 years ago, something fell to earth here. Soon, people from London to Los Angeles had heard about this sheep ranch in the desert northwest of Roswell, New Mexico. It happened in 1947. Today, it's still a mystery. Still a question mark. Or is it? Has someone hidden the answer somewhere and kept it secret all these years? That summer in 1947, the world was recovering from history's most terrible war. Yet, it would be fair to say that for Americans, at least, things were getting back to normal. Normal. Now, there's an interesting word. In June of 1947, McKinnon, a businessman, was piloting his private plane in Washington State's Pomerania. He spotted something not normal. Later, he described the 9 objects as a group of discs that skipped across the sky, like flying saucers. The newspapers liked that. Flying saucers. Name stuck. Soon it seemed more newspapers were writing about flying saucers, more people were seeing flying saucers. Here in New Mexico, in June and July of 1947, there were multiple sightings of the discs, or flying saucers. Maybe they really saw them, not. Even if they did, maybe the lights were just reflections, or something caused by nature, or mirages. But if not, if the lights were aircraft, then whose aircraft? And what brought them here? Why New Mexico? It was an event that damaged the whole world. Everyone. Because since that first bomb fell on Hiroshima, no one has been safe. Not on Earth. So it was predictable that when those flying discs appeared, the U.S. military suspected the Russians. But others had a different theory. As the poet John Donne wrote, no man is an island. Perhaps, they reasoned, neither is this planet. Yet the shockwaves of those first atomic blasts, they wondered, traveled far across the ocean of space. And out there was something listening. The first atomic bomb was tested, set off in New Mexico desert near Alamogordo, about 100 miles southwest of here. That was July 16th, 1945, about 2 years before the first reported sightings of flying discs. After the war, weapons and rocket research continued in Alamogordo, and a region nearby called White Sands.
This looks like the Sahara, but it's not. It looks like sand, but it's not. What you see are dunes of white gypsum. And not far from this natural illusion is another deceptive place, the top secret White Sands Missile Range. After World War II, the United States brought more than 100 German scientists to Fort Bliss near El Paso, Texas, about 2 hours' drive from here, and put them to work designing rockets. Their leader was the late Dr. Werner von Braun. On April 16, 1946, the first American adaptation of a German V-2 rocket was launched from White Sands Proving Ground. Other V-2 rockets were successfully launched that year on June 13th, October 10th, and the 17th of December. The December flight reached an altitude of 116 miles. Meanwhile, in Roswell, New Mexico, the world's only nuclear strike force maintained a state of constant readiness. With 15 atom bombs in its arsenal, it was the United States Army Air Corps' 509th Bomb Group. If you look at the map, you see this: 3 locations in the rough shape of a triangle. At the bottom left corner, the missile range. At the bottom right, Roswell Army Airfield, headquarters of the 509th and its nuclear arsenal. And at the top of the triangle, the site of the mysterious crash, July 2nd, 1947.
So what came down out here? An enemy reconnaissance flight? You two like crash and Russian planes? That theory would soon evaporate. The Army, Air Force, and yes, the Pentagon move fast and come up with another story. No thanks. And there is convincing evidence the official story was false. Out in this wide open space, in the high desert of Lincoln County, the sky is as vast as the land. The wind blows, sheep breathes, and time seems patient and stoic, like the eyes of an old Indian. A ranch hand by the name of Mac Brazel lived and worked out here. On the morning of July 3rd, he found it. In a pattern 3/4 of a mile long and 250 feet wide was a scatters of things. They had fallen everywhere, landing on the wet sand and in sinkholes filled with rainwater. On the night before, a violent thunderstorm had broken over the desert. But Mac Brazel remembered hearing one thunderclap louder than all the rest, almost too loud for thunder. Now, looking at the wreckage that littered the desert, he wondered, was it thunder, or was it an explosion? There were scraps of metal and other lightweight material like foil. There was fiber or string, and there were slender sticks suggesting structural beams. On these sticks, he saw markings that reminded him of symbols scratched in clay by Indians, petroglyphs they're called. That's how they looked to Mac Brazel. Others who would see them later compared them to Egyptian hieroglyphics. Mac would remember that the debris was so deeply packed, the sheep refused to cross the field. He had to herd them around it. Water that was more than a mile away. He gathered up some of the pieces and took them to the house of his nearest neighbors, Floyd and Loretta Proctor.
Described the stuff to us, and we advised him to come to Roswell and report. We'll call them flying saucers.
That evening, after his visit with Loretta Proctor, Mac would return to the debris field. According to his son Bill, Mac then brought a large chunk of debris to this livestock shed. The shed is about 3 miles north of the crash site, still here after almost 50 years. That was the origin of early reports the rancher had found a flying saucer stored in his barn. Mac still had work to do. The next 2 days, 4th and 5th of July, he tended the sheep. Then, on the 6th of July, he got up early, finished his chores, drove into Roswell.
Mac's first stop was the sheriff's office. After that, things happened fast. Sheriff George Wilcox sent 2 deputies out to the ranch and telephoned the 509th Bomb Group at Roswell Army Airfield. In no time, the 509th's Air Intelligence Officer, Major Jesse Marcel, arrived at the sheriff's office. With him was a counterintelligence agent dressed in civilian clothing. Major Marcel telephoned the commander of the 509th, Colonel William Blanchard. The colonel then ordered Marcel and the counterintelligence agent to go out to the ranch with Brazel and investigate.
The road was no better then than now. Because of that, it was after dark by the time they got there.
meantime, the sheriff's two deputies returned to Roswell with a story of their own. They had missed the debris field, they said, but instead found this, a circle in a pasture where the sand had been melted to glass.
That football field with very a huge circle there in the
The major, rancher, and the counterintelligence agent spent the night at the range hunt. Sometime later that evening, Major Marcel came out here to the cattle shed and used a Geiger counter to check the piece of wreckage back in the store. There was no indication it was radioactive. The following day, July 7th, they collected all the debris they could load into the major's Buick and the Army truck. And about dusk, they started back to Roswell. Over the years, many investigators have tried to solve the riddle of the Roswell crash. In 1980, co-authors Charles Berlitz and William Moore presented their findings in a book called Roswell Incident. 10 years later, tantalizing new facts were uncovered in research by Don Schmidt and Kevin Randall. Don is Director of Special Investigations with the Center for UFO Studies in Chicago. Kevin is an intelligence officer and a captain in the United States Air Force Reserve. Their book, UFO Crash at Roswell, adds important pieces to the unfinished puzzle.
Don and Kevin were the first team of authors ever to conduct a scientific investigation of the crash sites. They agreed to join us here in Corona, New Mexico. As for another first, we brought television cameras to the crash sites. They guided us traveling cross-country over rough terrain without roads. We entered the old Brazel Ranch from the far side, coming down toward the crash sites from the northwest. If ever a place was perfect to keep a secret, this was it.
Early September 1989, Center for UFO Studies sponsored the first archaeological dig at the actual Roswell crash site. We took a team of 10 people, 3 scientists, 2 with archaeological backgrounds, 2 from the National Laboratory. We concentrated not only on the debris field itself, but on the outlying areas. We still have hopes that because of caves, a 700-foot well, other downside fence lines, that we may find something.
Investigators Schmidt and Randall have determined that almost from the very beginning, Colonel Blanchard and members of his staff were convinced that somewhere in the desert was the crew of the downed craft, possibly still alive. On the afternoon of July 8th, Mac Brazel was flown over the ranch in a military aircraft, assisting officers in their search for surviving crew members or their bodies. As part of his research, Kevin Randall already had retraced that flight. We asked him to go back, this time with one of our cameras aboard.
As near as we can determine, on July 8th, the 509 Bomb Group initiated an aerial reconnaissance. What they're trying to do is find the rest of the craft. They suspected there would be more of the craft there than just the debris field. The aerial reconnaissance was an idea to find that. Mac Brazel was in the aircraft with them. The thought being that Brazel, as a rancher, would be familiar with the landmarks, and if they did locate any more of the craft, he could direct them directly to the site. The craft came up off the debris field after leaving the gouge, gained a little bit of altitude.
Kevin is convinced the craft stayed in the air a few more seconds after the explosion. It flew about 3 miles, then crashed at the base of those rock cliffs you see below. We call it the impact point. Ironically, it was a group of civilians who reached it first.
We have descriptions of the second crash site from 3 separate sources. A civil engineer, an archaeologist, and a soldier. All claim to be eyewitnesses. We think the search plane with Mac Brazel aboard spotted it too. According to all accounts, and they are strikingly similar, this was the scene. An aircraft shaped like a disc had crash-landed. Lying on the ground beside it were several bodies, humanoid but small, perhaps only 4 or 5 feet tall. They were very thin and their heads looked too large for their bodies, at least by human standards. To reconstruct what happened the night of July 2nd, 1947, investigators Randall and Schmidt have developed a theory that explains all three locations: the debris field, the circle of melted sand, and this location, where the saucer and its crew are said to have been found. Flying through the storm, the ship malfunctions. It descends and either lands or skips along the ground. Intense heat from the craft melts the sand to glass. Back in the air again, it flies only a few more miles, still in trouble. Then, crippled, the ship travels perhaps 2 miles beyond the debris field. A voyage light years across space ends in the New Mexico desert. For the crew, injured and stranded, death is inevitable.
On July 8th, the day the second crash site was found, things started rapidly to unravel. The first soldiers to reach the disk discovered civilians had gotten there ahead of them. Back at the base, the phones started ringing, wouldn't stop. The world was electrified when the official press release announced the 509th had recovered a flying disc. Walter Hyde still lives in Roswell. He settled there after resigning his commission in the Air Force. First Lieutenant Hyde was Public Information Officer of the 509th. This is the substance of the press release that he wrote. Soon, the lieutenant would be blamed for jumping the gun and portrayed as an eager beaver.
I think that not only was I set up, but I think Colonel Blanchard was also. About the only reason that I can think of is they wanted to cover up the story and keep all this information confidential.
Tuesday morning, the 8th of July, Major Marcel, the intelligence officer, reported to the commander of the 509th Bomb Group, Colonel William Blanchard. Colonel Blanchard ordered the provost marshal to surround the debris field and to post guards sealing off all roads leading into the crash site. Then Colonel Blanchard reported to 8th Air Force headquarters in Fort Worth. And soon, the Pentagon sent a flight with a special team of agents from Washington to Roswell. Later that morning, at 11 o'clock, Lieutenant Hyde finished the press release. We drop off copies at both Roswell's daily newspapers and at both the radio stations in town.
Every news bureau subscribes to wire services, like the Associated Press, Reuters, or United Press International. Nowadays, at the Roswell Daily Record, bulletins come in over computers instead of teletype machines. But even in 1947, the word could be flashed from Roswell around the world in minutes. And that's exactly what happened. By noon, July 8th, every telephone line into Roswell, New Mexico was jammed. At the 509, Colonel Blanchard himself couldn't place an outside call. It was impossible.
By 4 o'clock that afternoon, Mac Brazel was back in Roswell after helping out in the air search that found the second crash site. The next thing that happened was a classic military snafu. The Army lost Mac Brazel. But Walt Whitmore, an owner of station KGFL in Roswell, found him. We get more on that from Jug Roberts.
He found him, and they go out to Litt's house. It's on the extreme side of Roswell at that time. And we felt that it could give us an opportunity to get some information, which we would like to have. As someone said one time, you sequestered him or you hid him out, but I'd like more politely to say, we offered him a place to stay that night so he could get away from a lot of people with questions.
With calls still pouring in from as far away as London and Hong Kong, the Roswell Daily Record hit the street with a front-page banner headline. The newspaper based its story on Lieutenant Haught's press release. But, as we know now, more than 40 years later, the media was about to be sealed off from the facts and spoon-fed an alibi. Army officers found Mac Brazel and put him under house arrest. Hours of intense grilling would follow, and he was subjected to a complete physical examination. Then on July 9th, at radio station KGFL, Walt Whitmore got a special telephone call from Washington. He was ordered not to broadcast his recorded interview with Mac Brazel.
the suggestion was made to us that if we wanted to keep our license, we would not use the interview on the air because that would give us about 24 hours to find something else to do beside the radio business.
Next, Army officers searched all the radio stations and newspapers in Roswell. They seized all copies of the press release and anything else they could find that pertained to the story. Then, on July 9th, Mac Brazel, escorted by officers, turned up at radio station KGFL with a brand new story, not at all like the one he told Walt Whitmore about him hiding.
For centuries, the Indians of New Mexico worshipped the sun, the giver of life, gatekeeper to the vaults of heaven. It was to learn more about ancient Indian culture that a group of archaeologists came to the desert on the morning of July 8th, 1947.
The human factor is important. People won't keep silent forever. But of the handful of witnesses who eventually talked about what they saw here at the second crash site, most are dead now, victims of illness or old age. We can only take note of who they were, how different they were, and yet how they all described seeing the same things. An aircraft apparently not made on Earth, and creatures who look as if they had not been born on this planet. Once the military found the second crash site, they moved fast. From the plane, in which he was a passenger, Mac Brazel had guide the troops on the ground who were closing in. But before the military could get here, a civil engineer surveying for an irrigation project came upon the site by accident. His name was Grady Barnett, by all accounts a no-nonsense fellow. Barnett's close friend, Vern Maltese, remembers Barney telling him about finding the bodies and how he described them.
He said, well, I'm going to tell you something that I'm not supposed to divulge. And he come across this object on the ground, which was the shape of a flying saucer that didn't split open. So he jumped out of his pickup and went down there, and there was 4 beings laying on the ground. And they were in a sort of a silver-colored suit, and they were about 3 to 4 feet high. And the suits were rather tight-fitting, and they had covering, except there was no covering on the head or not on the hands. And the shape of the heads of the beings on the ground were hairless with a sort of a pear-shaped head, and the hands were exposed. And they had just barely arrived, and there was an archaeology team that had just come up there about the same, just a little bit after mine. Then the military come in and surrounded the area, and they called all those people that were there from the archaeology team, Mr. Burnett, and they briefed them that this was not to be divulged to anybody, that they were not to say one word about it, and forget that they ever seen anything.
Barnett said he was standing beside the bodies, close enough to touch them, when the group of archaeologists and students arrived. If the story is true, then here is an excellent group of qualified witnesses in possession of material evidence. In other words, here was proof. But what happened? In no time, the military took charge. They covered the bodies. They herded the archaeologists, the students, and the engineer off to one side and made them face in the opposite direction. This was a matter of national security. They were not to talk about it. If any of them did, the government would hear about it, and the government would know how to find them. Soldiers escorted them away from the site and into obscurity. Grady Barnett did tell his boss about the bodies, but the response was ridicule and a common barnyard expletive. After that, Barnett kept most of the details to himself, speaking only to family members and his close friend, Vern Maltese. Barnett died in 1969.
Barnyard expletive.
The archaeologists and the students dropped out of sight, presumably returning to a large northeastern university. For years, no one knew where to find them. Then in 1975, a woman suffering from cancer made a deathbed statement to a nurse at St. Petersburg Community Hospital in Florida.
When I was a nurse on a terminally ill floor, we had a patient who was admitted. And one day I went in to bathe this patient, and she was more alert than she usually was. She was very suspicious acting. She asked me if I could draw the curtain. She wanted to know if there was another patient in the other bed, and I said no, which I was a little surprised because she wasn't so alert. In fact, most things that she did was call out one particular name. So she proceeded to talk to me, and she said there's something that she needs to talk to someone about, that she needed to tell them something. She said, I've held it in a long time. And then she said that a lot of years ago, she was out with a bunch of people, and they were, she said, rock hunting. And she kept saying, I wasn't supposed to be there, but I went. And she goes, and then she said, I wish I hadn't. And she said they were out and they were walking around, and they came upon a hill, and they went over the hill. And she said then they saw a large shiny object. And she said it was very large, and they wanted to see more, so they started walking toward it. She said that when they got there, that there was a large round object, and it was sitting on the ground. And she said, and then on the ground was some, she goes, blankets or something. And she said that one of the guys from the expedition, one of the men, walked over and they pulled back the covers. And she said there were little people. She couldn't believe it. There were actually little people. She said they had very large heads and very big eyes, and she said they had some kind of shiny material on. I can't remember if she said what color. I thought she said blue, but I really can't remember at this point. But she said it was so shiny, it was almost like it was fluid-like. And she said, and then she became very upset. She goes, but you mustn't tell anybody. She goes, never tell anybody. And at this point, she would just keep looking around the room. She was very paranoid acting, and she said, because they can always find you. And I said to her, I said, who can always find you? She goes, the government can always find you.
2 days after Mac Brazel turned up in Roswell, rumors were spreading like brush fire. The public was led to believe the Pentagon was hopping mad, and a general by the name of Roger Ramey was taking flack. Contrary to popular belief, that was the result of a carefully orchestrated cover story. Ramey was commander of the 8th Air Force in Fort Worth, Texas, higher headquarters for 5. Even before the 509 started picking up the pieces and looking for the bodies, 8th Air Force headquarters was on the line with the Pentagon. On the morning of July 8th, that special flight was arranged, sending a team of counterintelligence experts to Washington, Roswell Army Airfield. The general and the Pentagon were about to screw the lid down.
Carefully setting up an alibi, General Ramey ordered Colonel Blanchard, the 509's commander, to send his intelligence officer, Major Marcel, to Fort Worth. Marcel took to the general's office some of the debris packed in a small box. Leaving the box on his desk, the general then led the major into another room, suggesting they look at a map. When he returned, the box had disappeared. In its place was a damaged weather balloon. Next, General Ramey called in the report. Besides, the general added, this one was his case too. We know now that some of the debris already had been delivered to the general earlier that day. If it were nothing but a weather balloon, why did he say so then and there, defuse the situation, and placate the Pentagon? Dr. Jesse Marcel was 11 years old when his father, Major Marcel, came home with a carload of curious objects one night. Dr. Marcel now lives in Helena, Montana. He remembers that his father woke him up about 2 o'clock in the morning, showing him and his mother the things he found.
The thing that set us apart from anything that I'd ever seen before was the markings on parts of the wreckage. In the I-beam structural members, there was like a writing of sorts. I remember at the time thinking this was like hieroglyphic, but it wasn't really hieroglyphic, but it was more of geometrical forms and symbols along the inner surface of an I-beam. And were kind of a metallic purple hue and seemed like they were embossed in the metal itself. And I suppose that is the singular thing that sets us apart from more ordinary debris. I do know it was not a weather balloon or radar target as was proposed by the Air Force. Because I was, even at that young age, I was familiar with things like what a radar target should look like, what a weather balloon certainly would look like. And since they use that as a cover story for this extraordinary, I knew that must be very unusual about that. And so I come to the realization that this was out of this world.
In May of 1990, Dr. Marcel agreed to be placed under hypnosis. It was an effort by Don Schmidt and his colleagues to retrieve from the doctor's mind lost memories, to see again clearly imprecise symbols on those bits of debris. Ones that
Here at the debris field, while the general was putting out their balloon story, teams of men with wheelbarrows were still working. Imagine roadblocks, machine guns, and at least 60 men with trucks to recover a balloon like this. Other weather balloons have been found and turned in by civilians. They were small enough to fit in the trunk of a car. Even the new model, referred to by the general, would have fit. In fact, Mac Brazel said he knew what weather balloons looked like, that he had found them on the ranch before. Despite military pressure, Mac still would insist that the debris in the field the sheep would not cross was different. And of course, weather balloons don't carry passengers, not even small passengers like the ones supposedly found at the second crash site. Now, back to the rumors that were spreading through Roswell. If bodies really were found, is it true that one of them was still alive?
As part of their 2-year investigation, authors Don Schmidt and Kevin Randall interviewed more than 250 witnesses and sources regarding the Roswell crash. They were careful to avoid hearsay. They weeded out suspect sources, those who might have exaggerated or embellished the stories with borrowed information. In preparing this documentary, we recorded interviews with more than 24 people. All were carefully screened, their backgrounds checked. Many of them had never met. And yet, invariably, their stories matched. Each piece of the puzzle fit. There's no evidence of collusion. Still, 19 was among those pursued. Jack still remembers 3 cryptic
After it's a weather balloon. I don't know what was really going on, what happened. And he said just 3 words. They killed him. He had the ability, when he wanted to say a lot in a very few words. So, and the words a lot of times could be taken more than one way. And I asked him, what do you mean? They killed the story? And he wouldn't deviate. He just said, they killed it. And I said, they killed someone? And he just said, they killed it. And I couldn't press it any further, so I didn't. But I didn't forget it.
Frankie Rowe tried not to remember. She says threats to separate her from her family and send her to prison pushed memories of the incident deep into a shadowy corner of her mind. But years later, as parts of the story became public, Mrs. Rowe's memories came rushing back. The memories and the anger. Now she believes the American public has a right to know everything. The whole story, even small pieces of it. Like the pieces of metal she saw and touched.
And he pulled his hand out of his pocket and he had a piece of the material wadded up in his hand in a little tiny ball, and when he dropped it on the table it spread out like it was liquid or quicksilver, and there was not one rifle in that. And I do remember that we all did get to touch it. We all got to pick it up. You could bend it, it made no crinkle, no noise, it was very thin.
and it was very shiny, very silvery color. It was about maybe a foot square. And I had no idea what happened to it.
More than 40 years have passed since the crash. The government still sticks to the official explanation. The military is still stonewalling. However, in later years, a few cracks have begun to appear in that wall. Major Marceau would talk again to his son, telling him no, it definitely was not a weather balloon. And suddenly, in a supermarket, a retired Air Force officer disclosed to his wife an astonishing secret. But let's start with the story of Brownie. Melvin E. Brown was a sergeant with the 509th in New Mexico at the time of the crash. Later, he was transferred to England. He married an English woman, and following retirement, settled down with his family in a suburb near London. Over the years, on several occasions, he would tell his daughters bits and pieces of a curious story. But on his deathbed in 1982, Brownie gave up the rest of the secret and disclosed the number of a hidden bank account. There was no record of any trust fund, nor could the bank account number be traced, and yet the family still wonders, is the money waiting for them somewhere? They wonder and remember what Brownie told them.
It's almost as if when he actually told the story, he wished it happened. All available mammograms, that's his actual words, I'm telling you now that I can remember. All available mammograms, they all had to go out to the desert where a crash saucer comes out. And they all had to stand guard duty around this site. They were told to look and not look, not to take anything in. And him and this other guy did look, and they lifted up the covers. And he did say that these trucks were coverings. I don't know what he meant by that. It must have been some sort of truck with a cover. We lifted up, him and this other guy both lifted up the cover and saw, I say 2 bodies, but my sister remembers it was saying 3. We disagree on that. They saw these bodies, and they were about 4 foot tall, no more than that, maybe even much larger head than that. Slanted eyes, yellowish skin.
Far from London, in Lincoln County, New Mexico, we searched for an elusive witness with an even stranger story. We found him living elsewhere and had promised not to disclose his whereabouts. His name is Glenn Dennis. In 1947, Mr. Dennis was a mortician, the manager of Ballard Funeral Home in Roswell, New Mexico.
Here in Roswell, on the afternoon of July 8th, a local mortuary began getting calls from a hospital at the airbase for questions about the preservative chemicals would do to the tissue, and clearly scary and quantity of dry ice. After 4 or 5 calls to the mortuary, the mortician decided there must have been a fatal crash at the airbase. That was the beginning of the most remarkable story connected with the Roswell crash. This is the gentleman to whom we have referred, the mortician, Glenn Dennis. In 1947, he was manager of Ballard Funeral Home.
There she is.
Those telephone calls from the...
What up, girl? How you living?
Good. Just been reading on the thing, trying to figure out take my shower out the way I thought to get through playing with you. I got a pen curve right here. Oh, Lord. My leg. My back hurt now.
It was good, thankfully. I did a 2-hour podcast. It was just audio, but it was still good.
Okay, that's good. You did a 2-hour podcast?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay. Now the phone, whenever you're ready. I'm just gonna play while I'm doing this. Take care of my hair real quick.
Okie doke, you should have an invite.
Bad enough. Huh?
Okie doke, you should have an invite.
Come on, invite. Where's the invite? Oh, there you go. Oh, I got it. Okay. Stay right there. There you go.
Ooh. All right, get it. You got it. No doubt. Nice.
Get it, man.
Nice spare.
Thank you.
No doubt.
Okay, all right, let's go. Ooh, okay.
Look at you.
That I'm standing there. That's crazy.
Not good. Not good at all, Miss Aquarius. Get this. Oh, what a spare. What a spare.
Must be, I know.
Almost.
It's okay.
There we go. That's what I'm talking about.
All right, hold on 1 minute. I'm hurry up because time go out. Give me a minute. All right, that was a little bit wrong right there. Oh, this is rushing me. I got the rush and go there. Yeah. Okay.
Get him. All right.
Yeah. Come on, everybody, you got it.
No doubt, Miss Aquarius. This is a tough split. One of the great splits in the history of the game. Give it to me. All right. I'll do what I can.
Hey, girl. Right. Okay. Hello.
Get it. All right. I'll take it. You win, I win. I win, you win. Reload.
You win, I win. Reload. Okay. That's great. Okay.
אז הלמעלה, אם הזנב למעלה, אז הכבש הוא למעלה. אז האדום, אנחנו רואים את הכבש בה, כן? האדום הולך על הכבש. הנה בואו נשים לייזר. זה למעלה. אם החלק כאן, אם הוא תולה את זנב למעלה, אז החלק הזה למעלה, החלק הזה למטה. זה למטה, זה למעלה. אוקיי, עכשיו הבאתם. החלק האדום שהוא למעלה זה למעלה, והחלק האדום למטה זה למטה, שהוא מיד הצלע הכחול.
That feels great. That's good.
שתי צלעות, שלפי רש"י שתי צלעות, צלע אחת בכל צד, ושתי תפנות ולתות, שתי צלעות. וזה כבר זה הביטה לכוין, מצוין, זה מה שנותנים לכוין. נראה שזה שתיים בכל צד. מכאן הוא שמואל, ראינו במשנה שעוד כלים הזה, יש פה
Alright, Rabbi, get it.
Yes, ma'am.
כן.
שימו לב, זה, הקום הזה, מה שאתם רואים את האור המקובל הזה, זה הקום שעל הגולגולת. וזה, מאוד יפה, רואים את השקית ניילון הזה מסביב למוח, זה הקום התחתון. כאילו אם אתה יודע, מהראש, מה תיגע קודם, קום העליון. יותר עבר, כן, יותר עבר, וגם בזה.
Nice spare.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
No, split. I mean, strike. Split. Right. I'm sorry. Like, I would have gave you one, too. That's it, right?
Ooh, what a spare. What a great spare.
Thank you.
You're welcome. What a great strike.
Right. Good, everybody. Thank you.
Miss Aquarius, you're putting up numbers.
You finna leave. Go. Yeah.
Miss Aquarius putting up numbers.
Yeah, you already know. You beat him.
That's all right.
Yeah, I'm here for it.
You win, I win. I win, you win. Undefeated in bowling. Undefeated in friendship.
Yeah.
Miss Aquarius, you want your hiccups to go away?
I drink water.
No. Just try this if you would, please. Just try this. I said no, absolutely not. If you would, try this. I want you to breathe through your nose twice as long as you can, and then swallow twice, and then I want you to breathe out through your mouth. So breathe in through your nose twice, swallow twice, and then slowly out through your mouth.
It's down now.
There you go. No water needed.
Okay. It heard you before you said it.
Yeah.
About my haircuts, Rabbi.
Yes, ma'am.
You are dang it.
Oh, I don't know about that. I just do research. Hi, Miss Aquarius. Best wishes to you. Sweet dreams to you as well. God will. That's right, madam.
I'm leaving my iPad in here, okay?
Okie doke. Thank you.
You're welcome.
שזה כל הצינורות האלה שמגיעים את החמצה בתוך הרי רוב הרבי בתוכנית אז לא גם נשים פה עם גודל שם עושים פה עם גודל זה כוונה הענק הזה, הגדול הזה זה הראשי לא הקטנים האלה, הקצפונים קטן הראשי אז הוא גם בלב הוא רוצה לטעון שזה לא הקטן, זה הראשי, החלל הגדול, לא הקטן. אוקיי, יש לו עשו לביצה ספורש סודית. אוקיי, מה אתה מבין את הים? אוסו, בביס, חסים, פרוינויס כבר, אתה קוראים את זה בלא שורה, חסים פרוינויס. אז מה הוא הדבר העיקרי בכל הסימפונום במויזאי זה הצינור העיקרי הזה. אבל כאן זה לא כתוב בלשון רבים. ושם כל הסיפור שכל הכתבו אחד, אז זה הרשת. והאומר לצחה לא חלל אחד, כדי לא להיות שכולם באים לחלל כדי הלב, למה אומר משהו? מה זה כדי הלב? משהו כזה, הפלא שיוצאים מהלב רב אומר, שום בגובו, זה לא חום קטן, צריך להיות רוב הקטן אין יהודי הלב, מה זה כבר? אומר רב אומר, יצחק אמרה, חלב של גבי פולץ זה החלב, זה שומן שעל התחנות שואל הגמור, צריך לעשות מדי לא מה זה החלב הזה? מה זה בכלל? אכפת לנו מהחלב? זה היה לא נטע אם יש חום חלב אלו שהגבי לא אחרי ראייה אין לך משהו כזה אמרתי, ראינו את זה טוב שמים לב שיש כאן חלב זה הקנה וזה הראייה ויש כאן חלב על הקנה אז בזה יש חום קטן אז זה לא סופונש 3 קנים אחד פורש לגידו, אחד הולך ללב אחד פורש לראיו, אחד הולך לראיות, אחד פורש מכך עכשיו מאוד קשה להבין את זה שמה שאומר שיש 3 קנים שיוצאים מהלב זה משהו שיוצא מהלב ואחד הולך לראייה ואחד הולך לכבד שאנחנו יודעים שזה לא ממש כך אז כל אחד ינסה לפרש את רש"י בצורה אחרת זה לא זה השויים ומפרוימים אז הם מסבירים שיש 3 צינורות גדולים בגוף אחד הולך לכבד אחד עובר דרך הכבד שזה יש ואחד עובר דרך הראייה זה יש
The base hospital on July 8th started a chain of events leading to threats against his own life and the reported death of a close friend. Let's go back now to the afternoon of July 8th.
Then the next call I got probably, he was asking me then about preparations and preparing the bodies that had been laying out in the elements or that, some badly decomposed bodies or how we treated the burnt bodies and the very traumatic cases, what our procedure was on that. Then the next question was, well, what would you do where you wouldn't change any of the chemical contents, you wouldn't destroy any of the blood, you wouldn't destroy anything? That might be very important later on, down the road. What's your process and what you do with the chemical?
מה מחלוקת זאת? הרב אומר משהו, שהוא אומר רוי. עוד מלכים, והיום יעבור לשמודת כדרעת, תמיד לשמואל, שרב אמר שמשהו. עולה, שמואל אומר, אוכל אמר רב, זה מה שרב אמר. ולא יודע, מטריפו את זה, לא יקלו, הוא לא יודע משהו דבר, נראה שהלוך הוא אומר ככה, הוא לא יודע. הוא אומר, אתה גמור, נשבר ראשית, או אם נשבר ראשית, מה זה נשבר ראשית? אמרנו שזה בעצם לא השגרה, אלא החוט השגרה. שזה צבע לא אמיתי, כן? אמרתי ביום שזה צבע מיוחד, כדי שיוכל לראות את זה, כי הצבע שהיה בכל זה היה אותו צבע כמו השגרה. כן, אנחנו רואים את זה כסד כזה. בואו נעבור. עוד השגרה של יצחק, אם שיחקו, חפשו אחד לחוץ, זה מה שאני רוצה לדבר. ואני רואה שאפילו נצטרך, לא? חשוב לשלם את זה. אני הבאתי, אתם הייתם שואלים אותי, הייתי אומר, אם יש נגב קטן בחוט השגרה, זה כנראה בימן כבר לא יכול ללכת, לא? זה משתיק בן אדם. זה ממש, זה הברך את העצבים שם. לא. אז יש להם אחרי כזה. ורבי קרביאקו, כמו אמר שהלוך קרביאקו, שאפילו הוא נגב. הוא אומר, רבונה, הנה רוב קרביאקו, מה פתאום? זה צריך להיות רוב. וכמה רוב? רב אומר רוב. האור מסביב, זה מה שאנחנו אכפת לנו. ולא אכפת לנו מה שיש בפנים. אני לא אומרים כמו לפעול. כל העצבים, כל המערכת שעובד, כל החלטים שעוברים בפנים, זה מה שצריכים לחתוך את הרוב. אומר יודע גם מה נאמר, רואי, עוד שנייה רואי. היא שרובו, כי הגמור מבינה שאת העצבים, הרב הזה בפנים יכול לרפות, אבל האור מבחוץ זה מאוד מסוכן, כי אז גם הכל בפנים נחתך. ומה לא אומרים בואי מהי? אם אתה אומר שזה רוב האור, מה קורה אם רוב הכוח בפנים נחתך? לא שמע, לא אמרנו נבלי, בדקתי הלילה, אין עוד נבלי, כל השאס. לא אמרנו, הוא ראשון בואי, זה בעצם רוב האור. בואי זה לא יתנעד ולא יבואי, לא אכפתי מהמוח בפנים, למה? כי זה יתרפא. ולא זאת על רוב הנעם ונוסים תמיד רב, קודם קוראים קודם קודם הוא בדק את החוץ, רגע הוא בדק בפנים. אבל בואי בואי זה אם נעד ולא יבואי, אתה בודק בפנים. למה רבי ובכל העולם שואל מסמורת חוסר. אם המוח בפנים נהיה כמו סנוזני, אז זה פסול. סטרס ויספוס, וגם אם זה נהיה יותר רע, זה פסול. ואיזה המוח ואיזה המס בסוף. המוח כל שנשמע איתו, פשוט נשמע ראשון אפילו תמונה. הנה, זה יוצא כמו מייק. נוזני זה טוב. מס בסוף, כמו שאני יכול לעמוד. תמונה מאוד יפה וכולי ראשון. כן, זה הפקד השידור שעובד כמו שבא. מה זה? זה מתקפל, אתה מבין את זה, וזה נופל, אז זה בזמן הסוסים. ואם הוא יכול לעמוד, טוב נאמר. אם הוא לא יכול לעמוד, הפקד השדרות נופל כזה כמו בתמונה, בגלל שהוא נמס, אז אני מבין. אבל מה קורה? הוא ממש גדול, באמת. הפוך, טוב. זה אני לא יודע. אסור לכל במצב שם. ויאללה, אני מסמאסנס פוסו, אם יאללה, אסור. מסמאסנס פוסו, אם חוקד קצת, כאשר מסמאסנס שמפינורות הורים, ואם או שמסמאסנס פוסו, עכשיו אנחנו אומרים מהמוח של החוד השדר למוח של המימה, מוח. אם מסמאסנס פוסו, אם הלך קצת מוח, לרבי, כן? זה המוח של המימה או המוח של החוד השדר, מה תגיד בסדר? אתה בטוח? זה של החוד השדר, בסדר. יום שנייה אנחנו נכנסים למוח. המוח של השדר. ואיפה? אבל אני אומר לא, אתה לא הבנת, זה לא נסמאסמס, והבנת בין נסמאסמס ונסמאסמס. יש להפעיל נסמאסמס שרק קצת, נסמאסמס זה שנהיה רע. שנהיה רע, זה לא נתראים. או, רבו ישראל, הגדתם. ועולה ידיעה ויוסף עם הסוסו, הוא היה פרדת המרכז. אחד זה הוא גם נתן אינוביישן. הוא שדפק את הראש שלו בפנים, חזק. מה? בדיוק, כמו הספר בסלש. ג'ק, אבל כנראה שהוא בן הקרה. משהו קרה, הוא הבין שמשהו לא בסדר כאן. אז הוא אומר, נסמאסנס מויכי דידי, הלכת קצת במוח. אז שואל בגמור רב דרחי, לכאורה הוא רוצה להגיד שהוא הבן אדם ידעו. אבל הבאי לא אומר שאין הוא מוילי, הוא לא יודעים. אז היה כאן סדר מאוד יפה, מאוד מצחיק. אמרתי לו, אני לא יכול לעבוד את זה. היה איזה משהו, משפט בסוף, שלא הלך כל כך טוב, שהייתי מקבל הרבה במרכז בדקם. אז אני מקווה שיש שירה את זה. בוא נתפלל שזה לא היה להם. בוא אומר לי שום שינה.
Trash being able to sell tickets out of nowhere right to his face. You can tell Calvin doesn't know. That's why I tried to use my God, but what the fuck is wrong with fake man now? Got a lot of gay stuff in the algorithm, don't you? And how dumb it is. You didn't know that this guy was He's still fighting. Looks like he's got some sugar in his tank too. Little mini weirdo. You think our career come up as being the third co-host on a podcast in a fucking storage unit? This stinks. And he's not funny. And you're not really from New York. Shut up. That's probably from like all of you. Kind of fucking pretend you're like New York. No, he's not from New York. He literally has not of a New York accent whatsoever in any way, shape, or form. Just a dumb shot, too. Sitting in his goddamn short shorts. What hat did W get on today? Zane. P-H-O-R-N. Looks like an album. Like a cabin. Heated. Absolutely heated. Shocked about the fact that you can't sell tickets because that'll be a community only. What the heck's talking anymore? I mean, just out of nowhere, Sean Trash and Kevin. Was it Brian Callen who had trouble selling tickets? Like, the joke didn't even make sense. Like, you just wanted to smash Callen for no reason. He's upset. That Callen took a week off to go shoot quote-unquote pilot with coat and skirt, which he dressed like an idiot and obviously didn't have the big part. I don't know about let me know your thoughts in the comments.
Looking at also the likelihood of me getting this role is small, but it is a huge TV show.
ולפי שמואל זה רוב, צריך ממש לחתוך הרבה. לפי רב זה חלק מהוושת, ולפי שמואל זה לא חלק מהוושת. זה כאילו הולך ביחד, זה מה שהמספר לא טוב. כיוון שזה הוושת, ובוושת יש הנוכל, שאפילו במשהו זה פוסל, אז אפילו סוף סוף הוושת ידע, כיפה, זה פוסל, למה? כי זה חלק מהוושת. לפי שמואל לא צריך. חלק כזאת, זה לחתוך הרבה, זה משהו 1%. למה? כי זה לא חלק מהבשת. בואו ניקח את שתי השיטות ביחד, ונעשה ככה. זה רק בואו נעמיד את השליטה, קצת משהו במערכה. אם אתה עושה או משהו קטן באוזן, טיפה באוזן, ואחר כך אתה שוטט את הבשת. אז בעיה בשליטה לא, כי האוזן והבשת לא קשורים. אם זה חלק מהבשת, אם זה חלק מהוושת, אתם שומעים? אם זה חלק מהוושת, אז משהו לא פוסל. למה? זה חלק מהשליטה. מה הבעיה? אז למה זה פוסל? כי זה לא חלק מהוושת. אם זה לא חלק מהוושת, אז צריך הרבה יותר ממשהו. מחט לא יפסול שום דבר, זה מחט באוזן, מחט ברגל, זה פוסל לא. איך הוא נפסל משהו במחט? במוח, בוושת. אבל אם הוא בצע וושת, הסוף סוף של הוושת, זה לא חלק מהוושת, אז מה זה לא מספיק? אם זה כן חלק מהוושת, אז למה אי אפשר לשחוט שם? מצוין, זה חלק מהוושת, אפשר לשחוט. אז אני אעריבב את שתי השיטות של רב השמואל, מצד אחד אני אגיד שזה לא חלק מהוושת, מצד שני אני אגיד שגם משהו פוסל אותו. הדבר הזה מוזר שיש. אתה לא יכול לקפוץ את שתי חתונות, לקפוץ בשתי חתונות, גם להציג כמורה וגם להציג בשיעור מה שאתה רוצה. לא יודע, גמורה, אבל בסוף הגמורה, אתם לא מבינים, הגמורה שרוב צודק. אנחנו רוצים לקרוא אותו, ממש רוצים להקים אותך חזק, ותגיד לו שורות של חושק, סיב, משהו חזק מאוד. לא יודע, שאתה קופץ להגיד לשתי כתורות, כמו שאתה מחמאים לסלקים, אתה לא יכול תקפו לשזה, וצריך אותו ביחד. לא נראה, או שתקפו לשזה. אומרים את זה ולוקח את החומר שלה ואומר לה במשהו. נכון שהתחלת רק לשפוט על טוב מצב רשת, אבל זה סתם משהו, המשהו הזה מטריד את כל הבהמה. אבל הבעיה אם אתה הולך עם רעש, שמשהו זה מספיק, לא אומר, הרבנים שחיתו, הטוב מצב רשת היא ממש המקום של השחיטה, זה מצוין, שכבת במקום הנכון. אז מה יש מה הלכת קצת כלפסון? ובסוף גמרת במקום טוב יותר טוב. אתה רוצה שזה גשל, אז עשית שחיטה טובה, לא? מכיוון שקישמול, אתה גם הולך למוח כמו שמול, לא אומר למה הוא שחיתו? כי הטוב מצב רשת זה לא מקום של שחיטה. אבל אם נועדות כמו שמול,
chemicals that you use with that change blood contents and everything. But I knew at the time that there was something that probably happened. I thought maybe it was something that they weren't ready to release, and it might be some VIP or something they didn't want. But I mean, I had no idea what it was. But I told him at the time, I said, you know, I could come out and I could help you if you have that. He said, no, this is for future, in case this should happen in the future. He said, this is something we need to know so we'll know how to proceed.
Questions about chemicals, tissue, and the preservation of blood, as well as other body fluids. Very strange questions. If doctors at the base were examining the remains at the time of those telephone calls, it follows that by July 8th, the bodies had been removed from the second crash site to the base hospital. That would match key points in the story told by Sergeant Brown.
Not only that, but Glenn Dennis' story tends to corroborate the story told by witness Frankie Rowe.
And he felt that the one that was alive, he said later that it was taken out to the base hospital. And a friend of ours, her husband was working out there at the time, and he saw the one person walk in.
Later that same afternoon, Glenn Dennis drove an injured airman to the base hospital following a minor automobile accident. Walking into the emergency room, Dennis saw debris in the back of a parked Army ambulance.
What I noticed that was so unusual about this, that there was some inscriptions or a border around this part of it. That was probably 3 inches, maybe around 3 inches, but it was along the contour of the wreckage. And at the time, after I got back, I got to thinking about this on what the border looked like, and it kind of reminded me of Egyptian inscriptions and figures and whatever.
Now another piece in our jigsaw puzzle drops into place. It appears doctors were continuing their examinations of the bodies as Mr. Dennis entered the emergency room. Assisting them was a nurse, who he describes as a close friend.
One of the nurses, lieutenant nurses that I was acquainted with very well, she was very excited, and she said, "How did you get in here? What are you doing here? And get out immediately, or you're going to get in a lot of trouble." She said, "Get out here as fast as you can."
The nurse disappeared into another room, presumably where the examination was still in progress. But serious trouble was in store for Glenn Dennis, the result of a chance remark to an officer who stopped him as he was leaving.
But I said, looks like you've had a crash. I said, "I see some debris and the ambulance is there." And that's probably where I really got in trouble right there. He said, "Well, just a moment." And then he went to the door and he motioned for somebody, and about that time there was 2 MPs that came out. He said, "Get this man out here, get him out here as fast as you can get him out here." And then we were starting down the hall, and then there was a man that we heard a voice said, "I'm not through with that SOB yet," said, "Bring it back."
Mr. Dennis says suddenly he was rushed into a room where he was confronted by 2 men he had never seen before, an Army sergeant and a captain with red hair. A sharp exchange followed, in which Dennis says both men threatened to kill him.
The captain told me, the red-headed captain told me, he said, "There was no crash here, you did not see anything," and he said, "You don't go into town, you don't tell anybody anything that you saw anything or anything else." He said, "If you do, you'll get in real serious trouble." Well, I was a little agitated because I didn't like the name you called me to start with. And I informed him, I said, "Look, I'm a civilian, you can't do a damn thing to me. as far as I'm concerned, you go to hell. And that was the exact words that I told him, and I remember very clearly. And the black sergeant, he said, "Oh, don't kid yourself, young man." He said, "Somebody be picking your bones out of the sand."
Army Air Force Captain O.W. Henderson kept his mouth shut for a long time. He didn't go public until he learned that some of the others had broken their silence. He was retired by then and living in California.
It had been rumors that one of the pilots on one of the flights had actually seen the bodies. But the rumor did not become a reality until 1982, when Pappy Henderson finally spoke out. He told his wife,
"We were in the grocery store in San Diego where we had lived for many years, and we were at the checkout stand, and here was a paper, the Globe, I believe it was. Here was all of the story about it. In fact, I still have the papers here." And he said, he took a look, and he said, "I've been wanting to tell you about this for years. I guess if they're putting in the papers now, it's no longer a top secret." And he said he bought the papers, and we went to the car, and he said, "Read those." And I read the article. He said, "It's a true story." He said, "Not only did I know about it, but I'm the pilot that took the crashed saucer to Dayton, Ohio." I was astonished, and if it hadn't been Pappy telling me, I probably wouldn't have believed it. But he was always very truthful and straightforward. So I believed him. But if in those days, if you said you'd seen a spacecraft or a flying saucer, you were put in the annals of a nut. So we didn't say much about this. But years before, when people would ask him what he thought about flying saucers, his answer was, "There's something to it."
We may never identify and confirm all the witnesses, but let's review the ones we've heard about so far. These are people who claim they saw bodies of humanoid creatures killed in the Roswell crash. We have an Army pilot, a civil engineer, an archaeologist, and a sergeant kept under attack. Two of our purported witnesses allegedly made deathbed statements. The woman dying of cancer told her story to a nurse in a hospital in Florida. And for the last 4 days of his life, Sergeant Melvin Brown talked about the crash, insisting bodies were real. The weather balloon story was a lie.
What else could he have done that he would have been so worried about on his deathbed? Because he was worried about it. I mean, he was mentioning this place in his sleep, sort of shaking his head and nodding and arguing in his sleep about it and mentioning it. He was worried about it. Whatever it was, he was really worried. And this is all right. I don't know. UFOs, alien bodies. I don't know what the truth is. All I know is that if my dad said so, then that's it. He wouldn't have lied.
During our investigation of the Roswell crash, who claimed to have watched a bright light across the sky and fall to Earth the night of July 2nd, 1947. His name is William Woody, and he lives on the same small farm outside Roswell, New Mexico, where he and his father watched a burning light slowly flying northwest toward the desert.
My dad looked up and said, "My God, what's that brighter?" We got looking, and like a falling star at that time, but we got to checking it, and it was much larger. And we looked at the picture of it. Well, it just showed the star even much closer, and just a large stream of white light with a reddish tail on it.
We went out to the desert several days later, trying to find the spot where the light came down. Woody went along, but they found the roads blocked off by military guards.
No, they had several of the side roads, which there's not in that area, not too many access roads off, which there are many more now than there was back in that time. But every one that we come to, they had
security setup so he wouldn't go off in that area to the
Far out in the desert, at both crash sites, teams of soldiers were hard at work, cleaning up debris and hauling it away in trucks. A very large operation indeed for the alleged recovery of a weather balloon. How strange it seems that 9 airplanes and numerous crates and packages marked top secret be needed to transport what was left of a weather balloon. One flight on the 6th of July moved debris from Roswell to 8th Air Force Headquarters and on to Washington, D.C. July 8th, Roswell to Wright Field near Dayton, Ohio, which is now Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. That same day, a plane arrived in Roswell from Washington. The crew picked up the sealed box containing debris. And another flight was flown from Roswell to Fort Worth, all on the 8th of July. The day after General Ramey's news conference, special flights were still going on. 3 on the 9th of July to Los Alamos. One more that day from Roswell to Fort Worth. And on the 10th, a flight departed Wright Field in Ohio for an unknown destination.
Apparently, debris was being shipped out from Roswell as rapidly as it could be recovered and brought to the base. But what about the bodies? What happened to them?
We can trace the recovery of the bodies from the actual crash site to the base hospital at Roswell. The pathologist, Dr. Johnson, who did the preliminary examination of the bodies, filed a report, the preliminary autopsy report, of which we have no records. In fact, all the records from Roswell went to Washington. No paper trail whatsoever that we've been able to uncover from Roswell.
Dr. Johnson is now deceased, but in attempting to research his background, Don and Kevin made a startling discovery. All records of the late doctor's service, indeed most of his career, had...
The ABMS Medical Compendium, Dr. Johnson completed his internship in 1946. Yet 1947, when we can document it being at Roswell, there is absolutely no mention of that fact. In 1948, he is listed as a pathologist. In 1949, until going into private practice, he is listed at numerous hospitals throughout the country. Each hospital that we contacted has absolutely no rights of being on staff.
If an autopsy was performed on one or more of the bodies, no one has ever been able to find the report, not even using the Freedom of Information Act. However, this man claims to have spoken with a doctor who dissected the alien bodies.
The medical person he had reference to had about the anatomy of the alien, but that he was taken from a crash disk.
He is Leonard Stringfield, retired marketing director of a large chemical company. Stringfield has devoted more than 20 years to investigating and writing about UFO phenomena. He specializes in suspected crashes and retrievals.
The head is large, very large, human. There is no hair or follicles. There are no earlobes. There is no nose and human. The mouth is just a slit, an orifice, which goes in about approximately an inch. Membranous, which leads tracker and alimentary system. There were no red cells, no lymphocytes. There were no striated muscles in the body. There was an atria, or a heart, the pumping station, so to speak, where the colorless liquid, which is in a sense blood.
After the Roswell crash, dozens of soldiers and others connected with the military were pressured and never, under any circumstances, ever to speak of the incident again. Accounts surfacing only now, more than 40 years later, indicate the tactics used to enforce secrecy were ruthless. Which brings us back to the witness we mentioned just a few moments ago. A friend of the mortician, the Army nerd.
Only been in service less than 3 months, and commissioned less than 3 months. Very deeply religious lady. She was born and raised in a very strict Catholic family. Attended all the private Catholic schools, preschool, and high schools. And her folks wanted her to become a nun, but she...
At Mr. Dennis' request, we've agreed not to use her real name, but we will call the nurse Judy. Sensitive and deeply religious. What she saw in the examining room July 8th, 1947, took Judy to the brink of hysteria.
She said, I can't believe what I just seen. She said that this is the most horrible thing I've ever seen in my life. She was going into this examination room that was across the hall. She was going in to get some supplies, and when she walked in the door, there was 2 doctors there. And she noticed a horrible smell immediately. And she saw these 2 doctors, and they said, we need you. She started out the door and said, you stay here, we've got to have you. And what it was, they were examining, she told me 3 bodies, foreign bodies. She said 2 of them were very mutilated.
According to Mr. Dennis, Judy and both doctors became ill from the stench of the bodies as they continued to examine them. Judy was still not well the following day. Glenn met her for lunch at the Officers Club, but was more disturbed by her emotional state.
She almost, I knew she was almost in a state of shock. She was said it was so visceral, so horrible, and she would just, almost grab her head, and it looked like she was just going into total shock.
We should note here that Glenn's concern for Judy was serious. Marriage had been discussed, but all that was about to change, forever. He never dreamed what lay in store for Judy as she began to describe what she had seen.
She had drawn me just a little the night before. She had a description of an arm that was that she had drawn, and the anatomy of the arm, which was different from ours. There was only 4 fingers on the hand didn't have a thumb to it. Only 4 very slim, fragile little fingers. But when they turned one of the hands over, they noticed at the end of the fingers there was little pads on each one of the 4 fingers there. And it looked to them like they were like little suction cups. They were little hollowed out areas that looked kind of like a suction cup. The heads on these individuals were much larger, somewhat larger than the human head. The eyes were very sunken. The nose was there wasn't a convex or anything. The nose was very concave, with only 2 little orifices. The ears, there was no ear. There only might be 2 little orifices on the side, but very small little lobes that looked like they might function, might close maybe or whatever, but they was very small. Nothing resembled an ear on a human head at all.
Not touching their food, they continued to talk. But for Judy and Glenn, time was running out.
She never touched her food at all. I think I'd written a book, but I was so, I thought, my God, this was something else, and I don't know that I ever ate my food either. That was then. She said, I've got to go back to the barracks. He said, I'm deathly ill, and I've got to go back to the barracks. And then that was the first time I ever saw her.
Call it stick and carrot. Apparently, counterintelligence agents and ranking officers used both threats and money. The archaeologists were intimidated, told the government would find and punish them if they ever talked, and indeed none did, with the possible exception of the cancer patient on her deathbed in Florida. Mac Brazel had not yet heard the Korean War term brainwashed, but might have used it to describe the days and nights he spent as a virtual captive, being interrogated, examined, and forced to change his story. But one thing more. Mac's friends, the Proctors, remember he came back from Roswell driving a new pickup truck.
Yeah, I think maybe he did come back with a pickup truck when he came back. And we always wondered if he wasn't, if he didn't get a reward.
And suddenly, the ranch hand described by those who knew him as dirt poor had money for a meat locker in Las Cruces and a new house.
When they brought Mac down and kept him a few days, and then he came back, and he wouldn't talk about it, but we always wondered if he got a reward, because it wasn't long after that until he went to Alamogordo and put in a locker plant. And back then, I don't know what it would cost to put in a locker plant. Because it's lots of individual boxes and things. It's a lot of freezing. units. So I don't know how he would have cost, but I think it would have cost more than he got on his wages.
Threats and rewards, and continuing surveillance. Mac Brazel's son Bill had his own collection of small pieces of debris until he talked about them at a bar in Corona. The next day, military officers appeared on his doorstep and confiscated the pieces. All of them. The sun has set on many secrets of the old Roswell Army airfield. For example, few people know the bomber that brought atomic destruction on Hiroshima once was hangared at Roswell. Military security is a fact of life. We have been told not only soldiers but civilian firemen worked at the crash sites. Apparently, some got the carrot and some got the stick. Including Frankie Woe's father, who remained silent but angry for the rest of his life.
And he was very angry for a long time about that the government could do this, that they could just totally suppress something that actually happened. And he knew that it happened. He had seen them.
Confidential military sources told our researchers that more than a dozen military policemen who guarded the crash site were paid $10,000 apiece, a very large carrot, in 1947. Which brings us from the New Mexico desert. The crash site were paid $10,000 apiece, a very large carrot, in 1947. Which brings us from the New Mexico desert back to London and the family of the late Sergeant Brown. Remember, as he lay dying, Brownie talked about a special bank account.
My two brother-in-laws and a close family friend was sitting with him, and he told them that he had a trust fund in a place called Roswell, New Mexico, and that he had a lot of money there, and that he'd done something harsh for Uncle Sam. And they all made fun of him. They all started saying, "Oh, Brownie, what did you do? Rob a bank or something?" At which point he changed his tune completely and got most angry and said, "I've never done a thing wrong for my country." He said, I want you to find this money, and I want you to get it for Mum.
But the money was never found. Sergeant Brown's wife, Ada, insists he was not the kind of man to make up stories. And she remembers that in those final days, his mind was clear.
My husband really knew that he was going to die, because he said always goodbye. He said his goodbye to me, and he said his goodbye to his kids. And
instead of money, Sergeant Brown got a plaque, a generic letter of commendation from President Reagan.
I think he deserved a wee bit more than that. That made me angry when that came. That came about a year after he died. What I should say on there is, we are very sorry that we made your dad suffer all those years. If they were to say sorry, I'd leave it. It'd be fine. But that's what I want. I want them to say, yes, it did happen. I'm sorry your dad had to carry that secret all those years. I'm sorry he couldn't die in peace. I'm sorry he had to be laying in bed dying and trying to relate a story that he was, even while he was dying, he was too scared to talk about something that happened at this place in Roswell, New Mexico. And what makes me even more angrier is when you get somebody like Philip Klass on television talking about a weather balloon. What do they think, my dad was crazy?
The letter that I had sent to her with the APO number was returned to me. And on the envelope it said, return to sender. And then it had a big red print said deceased.
By the end of July, the turbulence caused by the Roswell crash had settled. Most of the media bought the official explanation. Most of the public had forgotten the incident. It was nothing but a weather balloon. Or was it? This looks like a flying saucer. Would you believe it? A meteorite. Apparently the government did, because next they sent an expert on meteorites to investigate. They sent him to this area, about 5 miles from the debris field, to look at that circle in the pasture where the sand melted the glass. Dr. Lincoln LaPaz of the University of New Mexico was a noted authority on meteorites and their recovery. He had worked on dozens of top-secret assignments, including the Manhattan Project. About 2 months after the crash, Dr. Lincoln LaPaz was asked to calculate the speed and trajectory of whatever it was that came down out there. LaPaz had not been told about the alleged recovery of bodies. After investigating, he concluded not a meteorite, but an aircraft that struck the ground. Given the heat and the speed, the doctor couldn't believe it came from Earth. He was convinced it must have been an unoccupied probe from another planet. The key word is convinced. 1 year later, Dr. LaPaz had not changed his mind. This from former counterintelligence agent Louis Wickett, who remembered a conversation with LaPaz in September of 1948.
If all the government recovered was a weather balloon, why was it still investigating the crash 2 months later? Except for being torn, the weather balloon displayed by the general was virtually intact. Yet pieces of something were scattered 3/4 of a mile across the desert. Pieces of what? How could a veteran combat officer like Major Jesse Marcel fail to recognize a weather balloon?
On his return from Fort Worth, Marcel went to the intelligence office. There he ran into the counterintelligence officer who prepared a report about the activities that had taken place at Roswell. Marcel asked to see a copy of the report and was told, no, you can't, it's classified. Marcel said, I outrank you, I want to see the report. The counterintelligence officer responded, if you have a problem, take it up with Washington.
And last but not least, why use threats, bribes, and loyalty oaths to keep secret a weather balloon already displayed to newspaper photographers?
There's an adage worth repeating here. They say, if it looks like a duck, if it quacks like a duck, it's probably a duck. We can't say for sure, but what happened in Roswell certainly looks and sounds like a cover-up.
If there is a hidden answer to this riddle, then the secret may not have been kept without a price. There is the matter of 3 lives, the curious circumstances under which those lives were lost. Now we return to Glenn Dennis and the story of his friend Judy, the Army nurse. Remember, it was Judy who told Glenn she assisted 2 doctors examining bodies of humanoid creatures brought to the base hospital. According to Mr. Dennis, she described the bodies in detail and even drew sketches. After lunch with Glenn, Judy left the officers' club and vanished.
The next day, I called out. I wanted to see how she was doing, how she was feeling. Of course, by that time I was really fascinated by what curious I wanted, maybe she'd feel like talking a little more about it. But I was really concerned on what was happening to her. And they told me that she wasn't working, that she was unavailable that day. And so the next day I made the call again. I made 2 or 3 calls the next day. And it was also, she was still unavailable. Then the 3rd day I called and they said that she'd been transferred out. They didn't know where, but she was no longer there at the air base.
Transferred without a word, no goodbyes, and no explanations. Judy was a 2nd lieutenant with less than 4 months at Roswell, her first. For days, Glenn kept asking questions, but got no answers.
Well, then about maybe 10 days to 2 weeks or so later, I get a letter from her in the mail addressed to the funeral home. All it was just inside with just a note said, I can't write, I don't have time to write it down, but here's an APO number that you can send me the mail to. And that was all that was in the envelope. There wasn't anything else.
APO numbers are used by the military to forward mail to American servicemen and women without disclosing their locations. But through friends at the base, Glenn quickly learned the APO number sent by Judy meant that her letter originated in England. He replied immediately, then waited.
Probably 2 weeks, or maybe it was at least 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks later. The letter that I had sent to her with the APO number was returned to me. And on the envelope it said, return to sender. And then it right in that big red print said deceased. And that was the last time I heard, even talk about it. Then about every time I'd go to the base too, sometimes we wouldn't go there for a week or two on emergencies or whatever, but 2 or 3 weeks or so later, I'd go out to base and I said, has anyone heard from the lieutenant? And one of the nurses says, well, the rumor is that she is in England. Well, in her note, she also told me, she said, I am in London. And then the nurses told me that she was in London. The rumor is that she was on maneuvers on a training mission with 5 other nurses, and they went down on a plane. They understand the rumor was that they were all killed in a plane crash.
Later on, another key person in the Roswell mystery was reported killed in a plane crash. He was Lieutenant Colonel Payne Jennings, executive officer of the 509th Bomb Group. And finally, there was the curious accident which claimed the life of a soldier believed to have worked at one of the crash sites.
We have information concerning a heavy equipment operator, for example, that was found crushed to death by his own vehicle, with his unscathed glasses found 100 feet from the site.
The Roswell crash. Even after years of research, 100 questions still come to mind, most without answers. It's not our purpose to prove or disprove this story, only to present those facts and witnesses we can find and let you decide. Somewhere there's tangible evidence, a piece of metal, a scrap of fabric, or one more witness remembering. Perhaps that witness is you. We applaud the courage of those who come forward in this documentary to speak for the record. We believe, as they do, that the time is now to unlock the truth that the United States government holds.
It is frightening now when I think about it. I can't believe that I could have forgotten as much as I did because of the threats. I mean, it's crazy. But yeah, I'm angry. I can notice that the modernism. I mean, what I want to find out is why. All right, they must have had a good reason, obviously, for doing it. But I don't know. I can't see that it is that important anymore, that it has to be covered up.
I think it's time they force your land and at least give the people an explanation of why we shouldn't talk about it in the first place if it was a national security item. I mean, just the reason why everyone should keep this and why they should keep covered up. I think they owe the American people an explanation why this happened. I mean, why they're not doing this. And let us know, and then the people know to either keep their mouth shut or go on the road.
After almost 50 years, there is still no change in the official story. But whether a spaceship did or did not crash in New Mexico, one thing is perfectly clear. Details of the incident have been wrapped for decades in layer upon layer of secrecy, which raises the most tantalizing question of all. Why? What proof of intelligent life on another planet destroy this civilization, wreck the edifice of science, and undermine religion? Is that what they fear? Centuries ago, those same fears motivated enemies of Copernicus and Galileo, who revealed a simple truth every schoolboy knows today, that the sun is the center of our solar system, and Earth revolves around it. Or is there something more? Could the visitors, if there are visitors, be predators, indifferent to human life or human suffering? Have our leaders been shielding us from a terrible truth? Even so, what has all been secret-keeping false? A few decades of false complacency? Well, things are different now. As we wind down the 20th century, we have reached the end of innocence. People are demanding truth. And yet, it is a truth that we promise. We may never again be certain we're dominant here on Earth. Indeed, not even certain we're here alone.
שלי, האמסיס והביצפויסס, באמת. מה זה, ואני אומר לכם, סוכו, מה זה סוכו? מישהו יכול לחשוב על סוכו? סוכו זה הרי זה יפה מאוד, 100 שקל, אוקיי, זה חודש שדרון, הכחול, מתוך השדרה, זה החוט של השדרה, אם זה נפסק, אנחנו באים לבד. הגרגרת, זה הגרגרת,
was born Yosef Vissarionovich Djugashvili on the 18th of December 1878 in the eastern Georgian town of Gori. On Christmas Eve 1991, Kim Jong-il, the heir of North Korea's ruler since 1948, Kim Il-sung, became the new commander of the country's military. This was a vital step in preparing for Kim's succession once his father died. However, just 2 days after Kim's appointment, in 1991, the Soviet Union, North Korea's long-standing ally, was dissolved. How would Kim Jong-il choose to rule North Korea after he succeeded? Would he open the country up to reform in the post-Cold War era, or become even more isolated on the world stage? This is the story of Kim Jong-il, the second leader of North Korea. The man known to history as Kim Jong-il was born most likely on the 16th of February 1941 at Voroshilov near Uzbekistan in the far southeastern corner of Russia. This is what Soviet records of the time indicate. This evidence aside, North Korean state propaganda has claimed for decades that he was born on the 16th of February 1942 at the Pektusan secret camp on Pektu Mountain on the Chinese-North Korean border. This was while the country was under Japanese rule during the Second World War. The 1941 date is almost certainly correct, and the 1942 date was only selected later to try to claim for propaganda reasons that Kim was born in Korea itself, not Russia. His name in his earliest years was Yuri Kim, a partly Russian name. He was later given the name Kim Jong-il. Kim's father was Kim Il-sung. At the time of Kim Jong-il's birth, he was a communist partisan fighting against the Japanese occupation of both Korea and large parts of China. Partisans like Kim Il-sung received training in the Soviet Union during the Second World War. Hence Kim's probable birth in southeastern Russia in 1941. His father would subsequently go on to become the leader of Communist North Korea in 1948, establishing a Kim family dictatorship there, which still prevails over 3/4 of a century later. This means it is the oldest family dictatorship in the world. Kim's mother was Kim Jong-suk, the first wife of Kim Il-sung. They had met in China in the mid-1930s, when Kim was there as an anti-Japanese fighter. Kim Jong-il was their eldest son. Another son drowned in 1948 in his childhood years, while their only daughter, Kim Kyung-hee, was born in 1946 and is still alive today. Kim was born in the middle of the most important 20-year period in the modern history of the Korean Peninsula. Korea was not always divided into two nations. It was unified for thousands of years and was extremely stable. The Joseon dynasty, for instance, had ruled the Korean kingdom for over 500 years between 1392 and 1897. That was a period of remarkable stability, at the end of which Korea became known as the Hermit Kingdom on account of its isolationism. Matters changed dramatically as the Joseon dynasty came to an end. The Empire of Japan was rapidly modernizing, and began asserting itself around the Far East, claiming control of Taiwan from the Chinese and establishing Korea as part of its sphere of influence as the 19th century came to a close. In 1910, Korea was directly annexed by the Japanese. It remained part of the Empire of Japan for 35 years. The country was only finally liberated in August 1945, as the Second World War came to an end. By then, the Soviet Union had invaded Manchuria to the north, and so the Korean peninsula was divided between a communist North Korea and a Western-aligned South Korea, which was ruled over by military strongmen and the army down to the 1980s. Kim was one of many former communist partisan leaders who had fought against the Axis powers from the Balkans in the west to Korea in the east, who became a communist leader once the war ended. In September 1948, he became the first premier of North Korea. Less than 2 years later, he invaded South Korea in an attempt to unify the peninsula under his rule. He believed, based on the experience of the non-intervention of Western powers, as the nationalists were defeated by the communists in China in 1949, that the US and its allies would not intervene either to save South Korea. He was wrong in that calculation, and the Korean War followed after a United Nations force, spearheaded by the US, launched an expedition to reclaim South Korea. Peace of a kind was achieved in 1953 when a ceasefire was agreed to, but North and South Korea remain theoretically at war with one another to this day. Meanwhile, having lost the war to conquer South Korea, Kim's father turned to consolidating his control over North Korea from 1953 onwards. Owing to these background events, Kim Jong-il's upbringing was tumultuous, while the circumstances of his life changed greatly between when he was a child and when he entered his adult years. For instance, he started out his life in the middle of the Second World War and moved between Russia and Korea in line with his parents' role in the resistance movement against the Japanese occupation of Korea. Later, his life became more settled in North Korea in the second half of the 1940s. But then, with the outbreak of the Korean War, Kim was on the move once again. The conflict involved several invasions of both South and North Korea and the capture of major cities. Pyongyang fell to the United Nations Expeditionary Forces on the 19th of October 1950, after the counter-invasion of North Korea. All of this meant that Kim's first 12 years of life were unstable, and his education was sporadic and regularly interrupted until after the Korean War ended in 1953. The details of where he was during these years are uncertain. For instance, some biographies assert that Kim spent most of the years of the Korean War in China for his safety. Official North Korean accounts assert that he remained in North Korea, a claim that was made so as not to make it seem as though Kim Il-sung had sent his own family out of the country during the war. Kim's childhood was also overshadowed by the death of his younger brother in 1948, and then his mother the following year from an ectopic pregnancy. Kim began his political career in 1961 when he joined the Workers' Party of Korea. It must be kept in mind that the Kim family was not yet then the kind of quasi-royal dictatorial family which it has since become. While Kim's father was the ruler of North Korea, he was not yet an absolutist dictator. That shift only occurred in 1967, after an attempt to displace Kim Il-sung, led by a cohort of senior veterans of the Second World War known as the Kapsan faction, was crushed. Kim Jong-il played a senior role in the investigations and purges that followed the Kapsan faction incident. As part of this, he was put in charge of the Propaganda and Agitation Department. This department had evolved out of the Soviet Propaganda Division that had been installed in North Korea in the autumn of 1945, after the occupation of the northern half of the peninsula. Under North Korean administration, it was responsible for disseminating and managing the government's propaganda. which, after the Kamsan faction incident, started to become increasingly synonymous with Kim family propaganda. Kim's time as head of the propaganda and agitation department coincided with a shift from using radio, posters, statues, and printed material to spread the propaganda of the regime to adopting film as a new method of indoctrination. Kim immediately had to deal with a problem. Amongst the department's leaders was a politician named Kim Do-man, who had sanctioned the production of a film called An Act of Sincerity. This portrayed Che Jae-ryun, the wife of Pak Kum-chol, the leader of the Kamsan faction, in a very positive light. Kim had Kim Do-man removed from the propaganda and agitations department as a consequence. Kim then went on to play a more direct role in film and theatre production in North Korea. For example, he is listed as the director of a 1971 propaganda opera named Sea of Blood. It was set in the 1930s, the era of the Japanese occupation of Korea, and exemplifies the Juche ideology that had become a key part of Kim Il-sung's time as leader of the country. Juche literally means subject and combines elements of Marxist-Leninism alongside distinctly Korean ideas. By the time Sea of Blood premiered in 1971, the cult of leadership of Kim Il-sung had become absolutely central to it. This was just one of many films and plays which Kim Jong-il oversaw the production of in the 1970s. He also published a book entitled On the Art of Cinema in 1973, in which he laid out his seed theory, which argued that all directors and contributors to films in North Korea should operate from a single seed of an idea that was based around a piece of the regime's propaganda. Kim's infamous fascination with films and DVDs can be traced to his time as head of the propaganda and agitation department. Kim's formal recognition as his father's successor occurred in stages. Many historians trace Kim's ascent as the designated heir to his father to as early as the 25th of May 1967, during the Kamsan faction incident, when Kim Il-sung gave a speech before the party leaders in which he criticized so-called revisionists within the party and called for continuity of the revolution, a subtle indicator that Kim Jong-il should succeed him one day. It was notable that Kim gave his first major public speech before the party leaders the very next day. Nonetheless, while the Kamsan faction incident and these speeches might have laid down a marker that Kim Jong-il was the heir designate, it was only through incremental measures in the 1970s and 1980s that it was made clear to the nation at large that Kim would succeed as ruler of North Korea in due course. By 1971, he was being referred to in official state propaganda as the adored leader, a not so subtle shift in language, which further indicated the intention that he would succeed one day. In 1974, the Workers' Party Central Committee was informed that Kim was the successor designate to Kim Il-sung, and in the years that followed, Kim Jong-il took over more and more of the daily operations of the party. Finally, in 1977, an official statement was made to the nation that Kim was to take over the running of the country once his father was gone. Thereafter, Kim consolidated power in his hands in the 1980s, making sure that all rivals, notably his uncle, Kim Yong-ju, who had been considered as a possible alternative heir back in the early 1970s, were sidelined. Throughout these years, Kim had a growing family. It was an unorthodox one, and even today, decades later, the exact nature of it is hard to disentangle. He is believed to have had long-term relationships with at least 5 women. One of these, Kim Young-suk, was his official wife between 1974 and his death in 2011. She was the daughter of a senior military officer, and the union was decided upon by Kim Il-sung. They had 2 daughters together in 1974 and 1976. This is the clearest element of Kim's complex personal life. He is also understood to have had an earlier wife, Hong Il-chon, whom he married in 1966 and divorced in 1969. Some studies question if this was ever a formal marriage. On top of this, Kim had several lengthy relationships with other women. It would not be accurate to simply state that these were affairs. Instead, these were more like concubines in an informal system of polygamy. For instance, there is speculation that Kim married one of his mistresses, Sung Hye-rim, in a kind of informal marriage before he was married to Kim Yong-suk. Sung Hye-rim was a successful North Korean actress in the 1960s and 1970s who had come into Kim's orbit as part of his work with the propaganda and agitation department. They had 2 children, including a son, Kim Jong-nam, who was born in 1971 and who, as we will see, was considered to be his father's chosen heir until around 2001. Kim formed another relationship again in the mid-1970s with Ko Yong-hee. They had 3 children together in the 1980s, 2 sons, Kim Jong-chul and Kim Jong-un, and a daughter, Kim Yo-jong. It is a sign of how secretive North Korean society is, as well as due to the lack of accurate records, that their dates of birth are largely unclear. But, broadly speaking, they were born between 1981 and 1987. These children, as we will see, became the most important over time in the succession struggle. Their mother died in 2004, following which another of Kim's mistresses, Kim Ok, who had been his secretary for many years, became a prominent mistress. They are also understood to have married, even though Kim's former wife, Kim Yong-suk, remained alive, and they had apparently never divorced, albeit they were estranged. North Korea's politics was shifting during these years. Not only did the Kim family solidify their hold over the government, they did so by cementing the position of the military at the heart of the administration. This was already a feature of Korean life going back to the very end of the Second World War. It was given greater emphasis in the 1970s and 1990s by Kim's father, and presaged the formal adoption of the Songun system by Kim in the mid-1990s, as we will see. As the Cold War became more tense again in the 1980s, and as South Korea experienced a great economic boom based on its diversification into electronics and technology, North Korea responded by reasserting its commitment to totalitarianism. Censorship and surveillance were expanded accordingly. On the international stage, Kim Il-sung attempted to expand North Korea's diplomatic ties around the world in the 1970s and 1980s. It is important to remember when considering Kim Jong-il's later time as leader and his son Kim Jong-un's tenure as dictator of the country, that North Korea was not always as isolated as it has been in modern times. During the Cold War, North Korea had many ties to nations in Asia, Africa, Eastern Europe, the Middle East, and even in Latin America. Incidents like the attempted assassination of the South Korean president, Chun Doo-hwan, by North Korean operatives while he was visiting Rangoon in Burma on the 9th of October 1983 aside, Kim Il-sung was able to leverage the country's diplomatic connections to benefit the nation economically through both inward and outward trade in the 1970s and 1980s. The collapse of these diplomatic connections in the 1990s would shape Kim Jong-il's time as ruler of North Korea. In 1985, Mikhail Gorbachev became the new head of the Soviet Union. He was a different type of Russian leader, in part because he was born in 1931 and came from a younger generation who had come of age in the prosperous Soviet era in the 1950s and 1960s. He set out to reform the Soviet system, which had stagnated economically in the 1970s and 1980s. But his planned gradual and limited reforms escalated in the late 1980s into a much more populist reform movement in the Warsaw Pact nations, Poland, Hungary, Czechoslovakia, and East Germany. After revolutions here and the fall of the Berlin Wall in 1989, the contagion spread to the USSR itself. It collapsed in 1991, and the new Russian Federation was formed, while major component parts of the former Soviet Union like Belarus and Kazakhstan became independent countries. This had existential implications for North Korea and the Kim regime. In response, Kim's father sought to reinforce the state's adherence to the Juche ideology he had developed after the Second World War, and refused to engage in either the kinds of political reforms seen in Russia, or even the economic and market reforms that China had undertaken since the late 1970s to open up their economy to the world. This left North Korea badly isolated on the world stage in the 1990s. This was the era of the Pax Americana that followed the Cold War, the American peace, when democracies were proliferating everywhere and former dictatorships in Africa, Asia, and the Middle East were facing the prospect of either reforming or being locked out of the new unipolar international system. The aged Kim Il-sung was unwilling to bend to the new order, and so North Korea's economic and political situation deteriorated very quickly in the first half of the 1990s, without the kind of former aid it had relied upon from the Soviet Union. Kim Il-sung died on the 8th of July 1994 at 82 years of age. The line of succession was well established, and Kim Jong-il succeeded his father, at first in a somewhat informal capacity, and then from October 1997 as General Secretary of the Workers' Party of Korea. He signaled his intention to retain the system established by his father immediately by creating the Sungun in 1994. Sungun, which literally means military first, was an ideology that placed the military at the very heart of North Korean life. It was promulgated by Kim within months of taking power and was enshrined as part of his policy framework in 1995. At first, it might appear as constituting a split with his father. Kim was affirming that he was now in control and that Sungun was a new ideology that would shape how he ran the country. In reality, though, there was not much that was new here. North Korea had been a highly militarized society since the Second World War, and it had only partially demobilized after the Korean War. Conversely, the 1970s had actually seen the most intense expansion of the military since the war. There was a further expansion post-1994, but it was numerically inferior to the growth of the 1970s. Hence, the Sungun policy was more of an effort to reaffirm the military nature of the regime in a post-Soviet world. What Kim was saying was that the communist totalitarianism of the Cold War era might be over, but he intended to rule as a military dictator nonetheless. Lip service has also continued to be paid to the allegedly communist nature of the regime in North Korea. People in North Korea in 1994 and 1995 must have known why the new leader of the country needed to try to reaffirm his control over the country, even while continuing along the same path established by his father. When Kim came to power in 1994 and decreed the creation of the Sungun system, the country was mired in economic crisis and descending into a catastrophic famine. This was all connected to the changes that began as the Soviet Union collapsed and the Cold War came to an end. The political and economic realignment in Eastern Europe had devastating consequences for North Korea and its trade, agriculture, industry, and supply systems. Economic data always involves an element of estimation when it comes to the history of North Korea, as there are no accurate statistics provided by the regime. This issue aside, it is estimated that North Korea's GDP contracted by an average of between 4 and 5% annually in the 1990s. That meant that by the late 1990s, the North Korean economy was half the size it had been a decade earlier. The country's agriculture sector was hit especially badly. The flow of industrially produced fertilizers and pesticides from the Soviet Union dried up. A lack of oil and gas led to regular power cuts that also impacted on agriculture, which in the modern world is reliant on electricity at every stage of production. On top of this, cheap imports of grain from places like Ukraine were no longer available, as that country and Russia were going through their own brutal economic crises in the aftermath of the collapse of the USSR. Finally, these systematic problems were compounded by a series of alternating floods and droughts in North Korea in the 1990s. Famine was setting in already in 1994. It peaked in 1996 and 1997. Because of the secretive nature of North Korean society, there is an unusual lack of consensus about the death toll from the North Korean famine of 1994 to 2000. The lower estimates, which are unrealistic, suggest around 250,000 deaths. The upper estimates are that 3.5 million people died, which would have constituted around 15% of the population. The true figure probably lies between 500,000 and 1.5 million people. Kim's response to the economic crisis and famine was to simultaneously avoid admitting that it was even happening for propaganda reasons, while at the same time adopting a suite of largely ineffective measures to try to address it. For instance, the government did not frame this as a famine. Instead, it was referred to as the Arduous March, in line with the propaganda approach which had been adopted in response to the developing economic crisis in the final year of Kim Il-sung's time as ruler. The Long March had saved the Chinese Communist cause back in the mid-1930s during the Chinese Civil War. The name was designed to suggest that the North Korean people were struggling together towards some brighter future rather than suffering through a catastrophic state-created crisis. Beneath this veneer of calm, yet difficult struggle, Kim's government attempted to put in place measures to increase the food supply. Above all, they looked after the elites within the regime, meaning that supplies were rerouted to the capital, Pyongyang. Soon the government made it known that it would accept international aid, and many non-governmental organizations, or NGOs, began delivering food into North Korea. This was nowhere near enough, though, and the famine did not generate the kind of international headlines that it otherwise might have at a different time. This was because it overlapped with a succession of international crises elsewhere in the world, notably the Yugoslav wars of the 1990s, the Rwandan genocide of 1994, and the ensuing Congo wars. The famine was compounded in the mid-1990s by the failure of the food distribution system, a method of distributing resources according to whether a person or family was an industrial worker in the cities or an agricultural worker. Industrial workers and other groups like the military and government officials were given preferential treatment in the distribution system, while those who were unable to work were at the bottom of the pyramid. Preferential treatment took the form of receiving a larger daily allocation of cereals and basic foodstuff. This system of preferential treatment had exacerbated famines in the Soviet Union in the early 1930s and in China in the late 1950s, and it also worsened the catastrophe in North Korea in the mid-1990s. Eventually, the system collapsed altogether as Kim's government was unable to meet even basic demands. As this happened, a huge black market in foodstuffs and other necessities developed, undermining the system of state-run supply that had existed in North Korea for half a century. Crime spiraled, and the government also struggled to manage the border in the strange circumstances. For instance, several 100,000 North Koreans are estimated to have absconded over the northern border into China during the famine years, after they determined that it was better to take their chances fleeing the country than to remain and face death from starvation. The illegal economy that developed in North Korea between 1994 and 2000 would remain a feature of the country's economic system throughout Kim's time as leader of the country. Today, North Korea is viewed as a pariah state that has very little interest in being welcomed back into the wider community of nations, instead relying on its nuclear weapons program to ensure that the regime cannot be toppled by any outsiders. However, there was a real opportunity in the late 1990s and early 2000s The Soviets aided them with knowledge.